my heart into something gold. Knew I sold my soul to the devil long ago. I rode it all along on your wave right before it broke. Time was thrown down the well, so I let you go. What I do right now. What I do right now for you. Carolina skies in the night, floating by your side. I fell up when you fell down, but we stayed in flight. I'm laughing to myself, 'cause I know that I can't deny Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? see the world. Aren't we all insistent to be small? Subdivide. I'll show you how it's done. There's no sight we go inside. The many is the one. You build your walls with faith in God. They never come around. Then wonder why we all defy the burden to be born. We're coming home with a mission to bring an end to a terrible land. We are here to your mission. We are many of one. We're coming home with a mission to tear you down from your undeserved throne. We can take your conviction. We are many of one. You may call it a virus, but we call it the antidote. It's an answer to silence. The future is here to revolt.
I've been working part-time jobs, chasing all my dreams now lately. No matter if I try too hard, nothing's ever enough, baby. No, I don't care too much. I don't care too much. As long as I can keep you by my side, I don't care too much. We got time, no rush. In your eyes, I always see there is something meant for me. In your eyes, I always feel different.
You love it, you wear it. What's your style? Get your merch at shop.eslgaming.com.
Dota's the kind of game where you kind of know you're going to win before it's even over. I was having a down day, and I decided to revisit some good memories. My name is Peter PPD Dager, and these are my moments of brilliance.
Multiple witnesses have reported mysterious shadow sightings all around the city. According to experts, the origin of these shadows is
You leave it to me. I'll get your taxes in an okay place.
What?
Well, just as soon as my audit is over, this gets my undivided attention.
Take a lot of trips to the islands, Phil.
Pretty great, right? Oh, Phil's legally dead. Fell off a boat. Going by Dennis now. Solari. Long story. Then we got, oh, no, you're not gonna want to see this.
I don't think this is gonna work.
Just okay is not okay. AT&T has America's best network, now with our best plans at our best prices, starting at $35 a line for 4 lines, new from AT&T.
Everybody loves an underdog. Who needs to be liked?
Mountain Dew Amp Game Fuel. Victory in a can.
Wishing we run away. All we need is our passports, baby. Leave the rest in our troubled minds. Let us go down and left her, baby. Trying to figure out what we're after. We're never heading back until we're older. We couldn't care no more, not any longer. Under peach yellow skies, we keep on searching, but we will never know what we're after. Book a plane, fly away. We will never be the same. And as long as you are mine, come on and run away. We wanna run away. We don't need any reasons, baby. Leave it all for the faded hearts. I don't mind if they call us crazy, 'cause they don't understand what we're after. We're never heading back until we're older. We couldn't care no more, not any longer. Under peach yellow skies, we keep on searching, but we will never know what we're after. We're no kids no more. I need to feel alive in this dreadful town. I'm running out of time, and as long as you're mine, I wanna run away.
Anybody else going to forget? right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are here for the ESL 1 Los Angeles 2020 online, powered by Intel, of course. It is MLP Dota and John X Fire. John, we are here for the first series of the China region between Newbee and Ehome, and I've got to ask you straight off the bat, sir, how excited are you for this series?
I'm really pumped up. What a series to kick us off with. Newbee, of course, they've had their up and downs, but Ehome, the last time we saw them in the qualifiers for the ESL 1 Major, we're looking spectacular. And I'm keen to see whether or not they can keep that momentum from last time. It has been a few months since then, but we already do have a draft on hand. Ehome bursting through their first phase really quick, picking up that Centaur War Runner and Winter Wyvern for themselves. Newbee, they opened up with Pangolier and are still to follow up. It's going to be interesting to see Ehome doing this. We've seen Fate Beyond do a lot of work on any of his heroes, and I like the confidence they have in their draft to just pick that offlaner first.
It's Faith Beyond, right? Like, he's a man that no matter what stage you pick his hero at, he will make things happen. And we've seen him on this Centaur War Runner many, many times. No matter how hard the matchup, he always finds the farm, he always makes it hellish for the opposing laner, and he always makes big plays. And I think that's the one man we've got to really keep an eye on throughout this match. And I'm very glad they give him the Centaur War Runner straight off the bat, because it is a real pleasure to watch. Though Newbee, going into the Pango and the Silencer now, does make things quite a little bit harder, because that Global Silence, never nice to go into when you're trying to initiate into a team fight, and as well as that, Silencer is just a real pain to deal with in that laning stage.
Definitely. It's going to be interesting to see how Ehome does adapt to this. I think you're going to have to prioritize perhaps a BKB early on just to counteract that silence. And whether or not Ehome is going to make that be will entirely depend. Of course, Newbee more than likely are going to run this silencer as a support. They do have the flexibility to perhaps do it as a core, but I think we've seen it much more in that pause for sort of support role, really heavy on the aggression. Of course, you have that flexibility with a Pangolier as well. We have seen support Pangos before, but I don't think this kind of support would work out. So more than likely, we are looking at that silencer support, and that will allow Newbee to set the terms of engagement much more, right? They can start a fight. You don't have to worry about the Centaur Stampede. You don't have to worry about the Winter Wyvern Curse. You're going to be able to get this fight on your own terms, and I think that's going to be really important facing off against a team like Ehome. We've seen a lot of times where Ehome just turns a fight on its head, mainly because, you don't really get the cleanest initiation, and Fate Beyond can really abuse that.
I suppose we should also mention, just before we get back into the draft, Newbee did just come out of their own series in a different tournament, and they did 2-0 their opponents, so they do have a bit of momentum going their way. Going into this first series of the Los Angeles online tournament that we're about to view. Ehome, they do go ahead and pick up that Lone Druid now. And so far, there's nothing really that counters that Lone Druid very well on the side of Newbee, so I do love the pickup. And I believe it should be Sylar on the Lone Druid, and if it is going to be Sylar, it is one of his signature heroes, so it's going to be a real pleasure to watch that.
Definitely. I think it's a solid pickup. Doesn't quite tie you into any sort of shenanigans with your draft just yet. It's a solid core to have. We have seen a lot of Lone Druids really pick up. I think the sieging potential the hero gives you is quite potent as well. Newbee, they go with the Tusk, so you've got that Silencer Tusk combination coming out now. And if Newbee maintains an early snowball, we could see the Silencer just get really big without any real need for itemization. It's just going to be a really big menace in this game as time goes on if Newbee finds that aggression with her Tusk Silencer.
That's very true. It's a very scary support to have to go into here for Ehome. Still, they definitely have some answers to it as Ehome. They go for a Wind Ranger pick. Now, that's interesting, because as it stands, all the heroes Newbee have picked up do not deal well with the win run of the Wind Ranger. So you've got to love the pick. In fact, I don't see anything that goes through the Wind Run apart from maybe the Swashbuckle. Of course, Silencer's got his spells to use, but overall, just pure physical damage, which Newbee has a lot of right now, doesn't really affect Wind Ranger.
Definitely not. You've got a lot of ways of building off of what you have from Ehome as well. Like the Winter's Curse follow-up, very easy to get a double shackle from that one. And you can definitely easily keep that Pangolier in place as long as you get a good angle. So Ehome really tying up their draft quite nicely. We haven't seen the Wind Ranger too often nowadays. It's going to be interesting to see just how far Ehome does push the hero. It does look to be a support Wind Ranger, so gonna take that pause 4 role. Really potent in that role still. I think the amount of aggression you can expect from a hero like that is pretty darn high, and that's gonna allow Ehome supports to really play poke quite well. Winter Wyvern and Wind Ranger, of course, can play from distance, and it's gonna make it that much harder to trade in these lanes if Newbee's not careful.
It certainly is. Of course, Newbee, they're going to have a think about this 4th pick now. About 1 minute of reserve time remaining for them, and I suppose with this Wind Ranger, it's put a bit of a spanner in the works for Newbee. You're definitely going to want to have some sort of counter here up against this hero, otherwise it does kind of just snowball and take over the game. Newbee, they go for the DP. Now that's an option, right? That's something that can deal with the Wind Ranger. Thing is, though, it's going to be a little hard to keep up. Like, you've got Spirit Siphon and Exorcism, and Crypt Swarm, of course, which also works very well up against that Wind Ranger. But the thing is, again, can you keep up with the Wind Ranger to actually get all those spells out and really burst her down?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if that is going to be the case again. You do have the option for Ehome to do it as a core, and the matchup against DP can go either way. I think it's a bit more mana intensive for the Wind Ranger to try to get her spacing right. Should be a bit easier for the DP to spam her spells out and sustain. So on that sense, I can see the DP having a better time. I think overall, this DP pick does give Newbee something they really need. They need a way to push. None of these heroes they picked so far has great push potential. The DP does tie that in quite well. They will have to play around that cooldown, but we have seen Newbee, of course, just play masterfully around that timing for DP. So as long as they keep that pace, they should be able to clear out a couple of objectives, at the very least take a couple of fights early on. They're going to have to maximize that spell. And Ehome, they've got a bit more flexibility here. They could throw something else down mid to face off against the DP. To perhaps have a better time. We've seen before, previously we'd see the DK come out in response just as a stable core, but Newbee, they close out with a Spectre, and that does give them a lot of global presence. It's a bit of a slower hero to come online, but when you have something like a Silencer, it's very easy for the Spectre to commit to a haunt.
If I may, though, John, do you really want to play Spectre into a Lone Druid? It seems like this Lone Druid Wind Ranger combination, and even the Centaur, of course, is just going to kind of run over Newbee during that mid-game. I thought they may go for an earlier POS 1 pickup, where they could actually start rotating with the Exorcism and start pushing down those towers early and just try and take over map control. And sure, the Spectre can join the team fights just with Haunt while she's farming, but it does seem a little greedy to me.
It's a slower ramp up for Newbee. I think they're going to have to be aware of the timing under 2 heroes. The Death Prophet and Spectre, you have to play around the cooldowns on both of these heroes. Of course, Haunt is a much longer cooldown for Newbee, but the key thing here is going to be in their laning phase. As long as they keep the Spectre decently up to pace, I think it's going to be fine. They're going to have to take some hits in the mid game for sure, depending on the item buildup we're going to see from her Spectre. Of course, you could go for a faster buildup, but that hasn't really been too popular. I think it really has been a focus towards that late game, kind of like you see with like a Naga Siren buildup, right? It takes a while to get going. Once it's up and running, you can really be a menace. And I think that's definitely the case with Spectre. It's just a slower ramp up. It's down to Newbee to maximize their early game potential. Like, you have the Tusk Silencer, that's strong by itself. That should be able to win out your lanes. And if they keep that pressure up, well, Ehome, they're going to have to go back and try to farm up in their Lone Druid. Now, that's a hero that needs farm as well. Granted, Ehome close out with the Ember Spirit, so you've got that matchup against a DP. It's a bit of a tricky matchup for the Ember. Nothing to say is going to have to watch out in those early levels, but as it ramps up, of course, your shield is going to be able to keep you safe from the Death Prophet's damage. I think both sides aren't really going to be pressured too hard. The DP should still be able to find farm. The Ember Spirit shouldn't be under too much of a threat unless you get that early rotation from Tusk, which is very possible. And that's something to watch out for. Newbee, how far can they push their support duo? That's going to be the key thing to make this draft work for Newbee.
Certainly is. We're going to find out very, very soon how all this goes. I still think this is a very hard draft to run for Newbee. It's going to be interesting to see them try and pull this off. Ehome, they look great, in my opinion. With this draft, they could just run ahead, run over Newbee, don't give them a chance. Well, it is game one of a best of 3, so they have plenty of chances after this game anyway to try and turn it around if they can't make this draft work. But it's going to be a very interesting game to start off the Chinese region for this tournament. We'll get into it. All right, game number 1 officially underway. Interesting as well, we're seeing the... I thought it was going to be a core Wind Ranger coming out, but Xin Q is going to be on the pause 4, which I suppose makes enough sense, right? Like, you've got some sort of setup now with the... Sorry about that. With the Centaur, so you can go for the Shackle into the Hoof Stomp or the other way around. It should be a relatively hard lane for the side of Newbee to contest in this safe lane, especially with just a Spectre.
Yeah, I think having the Wind Ranger support really was the key thing. I don't think they would have picked their mid right then. Like, they only had 2 picks left. It was really just going to be that support. So, Sin Q on the Wind Ranger. I believe we have seen Ehome actually do this before as well. So, it's one of the picks they fall back to. And they certainly make it work. A lot of potential coming out from Sin Q. Again, you've got 2 supports that have really long range for the poke. So you're going to be seeing both lanes really trying to push that aggression out with the Wind Ranger and the Winter Wyvern. Just a lot of damage potentially coming out to those off-laner and safe-laner cores in the opposing side.
Bounty Rune's about to spawn up. Newbee look to just get the top ones fairly easily. No contest for them. And Ehome will do the same for the bot. Neither team really wanting to fight too early on at this stage. Just wanting to save that regen for the laning phase. Newbee, so far, still have a trail lane set up, but I highly doubt that's going to remain. I'm sure the Silencer Faith will probably rotate down to the bot lane to help out this spec. They may want to really try and shut down Sylar, but I don't think it's going to be at the cost of your own position 1. But they are set up for a first blood attempt. YG and Faith just hiding in the tree line, waiting for their moment. YG is going to rotate over now with the tag team. Sylar reacting quite quickly, though. And now Swashbuckle moving in. Sylar, the Cold Embrace actually going to be skilled up by Y. Ooh. He just held onto that skill point, and this is going to maybe allow Sylar to get out of there. And he does, although Faith still going, still wanting this kill, and Sylar, he will barely get away with his life intact. He does have the salve. Why? You never really want to have to skill up the Cold Embrace, but luckily for him, he did wait, and he knew something was awry, and turns out he was right.
I think there's a lot of value in getting that done. If Newbee doesn't find that first blood with her Silencer Tusk combination, this kind of falls flat. Like, you take a look at this lane now down bot. It's Mugi on the Spectre and a Silencer support. There's not much synergy there at all. So they're really not going to be able to accomplish as much. That first blood was pivotal to getting that snowball start, so it's just going to be slowed down a little bit more for Newbee.
Definitely is. Still Mugi being very aggressive up against that Centaur. And we can't forget, the Spectre did receive that recent buff, so her base regen is quite high now. In fact, just with the Ring of Regen, she's got 7.2 regen going on without a Tango being active. So it seems like Mugi is more than happy to try and trade harass with this Centaur for now. Well, Sin Q, he's trying to be disruptive up against Faith, who's looking to try and make a pull happen on the Silencer. But now, won't get away with it. But we should also look at the mid lane where Nothing to Say is actually going to get jumped on with the snowball coming out from YG. They do have the tag team, Nothing to Say, eats a Fairy Fire, and again Y with the Cold Embrace saving the day. AQ just going to have to try and run now as Y is dishing out further harassment. But I have never seen a level 1 Wyvern be so effective with a Cold Embrace at 2.5 minutes.
It's really down to that awareness new Ehome has. They know that Newbee wants to play this fast. They want to be aggressive with her Tusk. If the rotations don't pay off anytime soon, then you've got 2 really EXP greedy supports that just won't have the space to get their timings up and running. And we've seen that happen before with these kind of greedy supports. When they don't get that early game going for their team, they really fall behind.
It's very true. going to be very, very important to keep these cores on Ehome alive as long as possible. Nothing to say, he was dominating in terms of last hits and still is 22-3, so you definitely don't want to let him lose that momentum in this mid lane. Dying once really does give AQ the advantage in terms of XP, and that should allow him to run over the Ember if that was the case. But now Nothing to Say, still going to be ahead in XP, and AQ going to go for a Spirit Siphon onto Nothing to Say. Going to take a fair bit of damage off him, but the Flame Guard going to keep him alive through most of it. AQ thought about throwing out a Crypt Swarm, but there's no real point with the Flame Guard. It was just going to be blocked off anyway. We actually have a pause coming up. We do get the lag call from Faith Beyond. Xingqiu immediately just says go. Don't worry about Faith Beyond, he'll deal with it.
I mean, if there's any player that can deal with that lag, it would be Fate, you know, with the way this guy plays. And looking at that bot lane even, you take a look at Mugi, he's not having the best of times against the Centaur. He's sitting at 13-3 compared to our Centaur's 18-7, and Fate Beyond is just dipping into that jungle every other wave as well. So the farm in the Spectre is just not spectacular, and that's just a solo Centaur now.
He's also got 13 Retaliate stacks at the moment, so there is certainly kill potential for him, assuming he has a rotation come by later on. Should also mention Mugi right now with his item build, going for that Necro 1 book, which we have seen coming out on these POS 1 Spectres. It really does allow you to farm a lot faster, especially through that jungle. It even gives you a little bit of push potential, so I do love the build. It was recently nerfed, however. They did increase the mana cost of the active. I believe it's up to 150 mana now, so it's not quite as efficient, especially for a hero like Spectre who doesn't have the highest mana pool. But it seems as though the farm is well worth it.
Definitely, it's going to be interesting to see if that affects these mid-game rotations we're going to be seeing out. In fact, Xingqiu finds Fate.
Yeah, he does. That should mean a kill, surely. Faith is pretty deep. Xingqiu, it's not a fast process, but he'll keep chasing. So far, Faith Beyond is not even bothering. He's just staying in lane, and that'll mean Faith can just TP back towards his T1. And it looks like there was a shackle available on Xingqiu, but he was out of vision, so he couldn't actually go for it anyway. And so we do still remain 0-0 in terms of kills. Nobody finding anybody quite yet. Though there's some very close calls already. Kind of shows you how good these two teams are, just being on the edge constantly, but never really giving away their lives.
This hurts Newbee much more. Again, you're looking at that combination with Tusk. With a Silencer, these guys really just want to clump up together, find those early kills. They just haven't been able to do that. And if you're going to be playing a farming game, sure, your Spectre is not dying, but Mugi's still not in the best of spots right now in terms of last hits. He's caught up just a fair bit ahead of Sylar, but it's still not that clean farm you're looking for on a Spectre so far. It's not been as free as you'd expect against a solo Scent for the most part, and there should be some pressure here. Xingqiu.
Hoof Stomp, Shackle Shot is going to be there. Mugi, he's going to drop low, and they do find the first blood. Faith Beyond, the one to pick it up, but now YG going to rotate over, but look at Y. He's already there with the Cold Embrace, and now he will just chase. And Y is just always at the right spot at the right time, as YG can't capitalize at all. The Shackle from Xingqiu doesn't quite latch onto the creeps that he was hoping for, but it doesn't matter. You save your core, you get a Spectre kill, you're going to be more than happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, up top, Sylar, though.
AQ. Nice rotation on Sylar. Well, he finds a great kill for his team. That's a pretty important kill as well, considering your POS 1 just died.
Yeah, you trade away that kill for this LD, and you try to punish Fate Beyond. He's got a Vanguard, though. This is a slow process.
Bot lane. Faith Beyond now going down. We see Wizard rotating on the Pangolier now and setting up a kill, though mid lane they are going to go onto that Spectre once again. Mugi, he just respawned. He was just trying to get some free farm in that mid lane, but doesn't quite get there. And now Y, he may be the sacrificial lamb here, but Ehome going to be more than happy about this. Give your POS 5 away for a POS 1 any day of the week.
Definitely. Not only that, but Mugi had to expend his hawk there. So he's not going to have any precedence in the next few team fights for a very long time. That's going to allow Ehome to take over the map just a bit more. 3-2 now at around 8 minutes in. Less than 1k net worth lead for Ehome. it's still a rough start for Newbee. They need to ramp up that aggression. They are starting to get that EXP going, especially with level 6 on Wizard. That has allowed them to find a couple of these kills. They're going to need to be much more active on the map to really capitalize off this sort of aggressive start they need to get done.
Well, 3-2. Newbee gonna slow it down a bit and just try and protect Mugi, who's just rotating to the jungle now. He's had enough of these lanes. He understands Ehome aren't gonna give him the time of day, and just he'll take the safe farm. It's all he can afford. Just find a nice broom handle for himself, which will escalate his farm a little bit in that jungle, though mid lane. Xingqiu gonna rotate onto AQ, but doesn't quite find a shackle. So they will have to allow that kill to go down. Though YG top lane locks himself in with the shards. It's not really going to help as Siler's Bear apparently hits through those ice shards and, well, he gets the kill. 3-3.
Yeah, they rotate Wizard into the top lane to try to help out, or soak the lane now, but that's going to open up the bot lane for Fate Beyond to just take. Again, he's got his Vanguard early. He had it at 6.5 minutes in. He's just going to tank the tower and take it out.
Very easy T1 to be taken by Faith. That gives him a 1k net worth lead. At this 9-minute mark, though, we do see a smoke now, Newbee. Obviously, once you see that bot T1 go down in your safe lane, you want to try and find the opposing T1. And, well, smoke going to be broken. Y again, just in that perfect position. Though he's going to be chased down. They slow him with that curse, but fear is going to be there from Sylar, and the Spirit Siphon is going to be broken off. AQ still has Exorcism, and is definitely still going to try and make this T1 push. And Ehome, I don't believe they'll actually try to defend this top tier 1, but rather they are going to force in the mid tier 1. And that's a pretty big win for Ehome if this is allowed to go on.
Definitely is. They've got one tower ahead of Newbee, even with that mid taken out. So your trading rate is top, which isn't really too valuable. In fact, you might lose your silencer too.
Yeah, Faith, he took the outposts, and so he does at least get some XP for his team, but at the cost of his own life. The mid-tier 1 also does end up dropping. Ehome, they do claim it for themselves. And Newbee, they do get that top tier 1. Though again, Ehome going to be much happier about that. They found probably the most valuable tower in the game at this stage. And AQ had to commit Exorcism for that top tier 1 anyway, as why? We'll get caught out by a Wizard now, just very, very deep in the Radiant jungle. And YG actually a very nice chance to block Xingqiu out of his own jungle. He would try and wind run away, but Xingqiu going to be blocked off, and with that tag team, it's going to be a very, very easy pickup. And Newbee now maybe looking to try and set up on that tier 1 mid themselves.
Yeah, they've finally got a kill onto Fate, so they've got one stack of int in the silencer. Nice little pickup for him. Still a bit of a slow start here for Newbee. Gonna have to ramp it up. I think they want to maintain, at the very least, tower parity with Ehome. That means they're gonna have to take this mid-tier 1 very soon. But you want to be ahead with this kind of lineup. With the DP, with the Spectre, you need to give as much space possible for Mugi. And, you know, he's doing fine by himself in that bot lane, but the moment Ehome realizes there aren't many resources to protect their Spec, they can definitely punish this kind of greedy core that we were talking about from the draft. I mean, all they need to do is just punish the Spectre, and the game plan for Newbee suddenly kind of just falls apart.
Well, Ehome. Set up now. Just taking over that Radiant side jungle. Maelstrom will come up on nothing to say. And with that Maelstrom, nice little power spike for the Ember.
Yeah, you've got a bit of a deficit going on for Newbee as well. With this kind of early game oriented lineup, except for the Spectre, they're playing at the 3k deficit in terms of gold. And that's going to be a rough thing to go over. Not only do you lack hard control, a lot of hard control on your heroes, you mainly have silences, you are just going to be struggling to face off and keeping heroes from Ehome in place. They just don't have the tools to get that done for the most part. They're going to have to commit hard, either throwing out the GS to cancel off any sort of movement, or making sure their Tusk is around with the Snowball and Walrus Punch. Beyond that, There's no way for them to actually find these pickoffs, and Ehome's just perfectly comfortable just leaving Siler alone in the bear. He has not been bullied out of that lane in a while.
Newbee smoked up, will find Y in their own jungle, placing a ward on that cliff. He does cold embrace on top of the cliff, but YG will have none of it. Does just use the chance to secure the kill. The top lane, Wizard having to commit Rolling Thunder to get out of here, but nothing to say. Power shot does connect, or almost connects rather. Wizard does manage to get away just in the nick of time. Nothing to say. Really wanted to just keep the chase on if he could. You realize he was just way too far. But that top tier one now, going to be very open for Siler. And with that Spirit Bear, it's not exactly very hard to take out towers. Probably will just be able to do it himself.
Definitely. It's going to be rough for Newbee if they keep giving away these objectives. It's not the position they want to be in. They still haven't managed to really do too much damage to that mid-tier one themselves. You are seeing that bot lane getting shoved out by the Necrobooks of Respect, but that's not going to be enough to really melt the tower just yet. Oh no.
Mid lane, Faith Beyond, found AQ. Global Silence will be there, but AQ, he's falling so low already. They've got that Flame Guard damage, but here comes Wizard trying to help it. The Shackle just connects perfectly from SimQ. It'll get him to a tree. Wizard still doesn't have Rolling Thunder. It doesn't matter, but Winter's Curse will fly out on YG. Getting caught in the tree line. Faith, he knew he was there somehow. They'll let the rest be. They just wanted the main culprit, which was AQ. Ehome really establishing their dominance early on in this game. It's still a 6-5, but they've got a 3k net worth lead on the Dire side, and it seems as though they've smelt out Mugi, and they want to try and go after the Spectre again, but Mugi, he'll immediately just TP to the top lane. He just doesn't want to be involved in this at all. And so instead, it's back to the Radiant side jungle, where they'll just take over and ensure that that Newbee can't farm this jungle whatsoever.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I mean, they have taken over that area. They wanted to apply some pressure onto that tier 2. Instead, Newbee, they understand Mugi just takes the space for himself, goes up top, to farm that jungle area as well. And they already probably spotting this out with nothing to say, though. If he turns right now. So it's going to be not really going to be revealed here, and that does keep Mugi safe for a bit longer. Still, it's a long catch-up game for our Spectre. 5.8k net worth. Compare that to pretty much all the cores in Ehome sitting at 7.4. Really good farm distribution from Ehome so far. And Newbee, they're not in a completely rough state. 4k deficit at 15 minutes in is rough. They need to hold out. Like, they've lost that early game momentum. They need to try to get themselves going in this mid-game point, and at the very least buy space for Mugi to get big. He is building up towards his Yasha now. And again, with that Necrobook, it should be easier for him to clear out the camps.
Yeah. That's the aim of the game now for Newbee. They understand this. Just give Mugi time. Mugi will eventually get to the point where he just outscales everybody on the side of Ehome. Should just be able to take over, though. Newbee again smoked up, trying to get aggressive. These three heroes, they do find nothing to say. Global Silence immediately being thrown out. Nothing to say. About to fall, but the Global Silence going to wear off soon, surely, but not soon enough. Winter's Curse from Y would at least lock down YG, but it's not quite enough damage, and Power Shot doesn't actually land from the right side. And Y make a run. Again, now the Haunt going to come in to give vision. Mugi comes in, but here comes Faith Beyond. Y still loses his life on the Wyvern. And Faith can't actually help. In fact, SimQ getting caught out now on the Wind Ranger. And just everybody going in one by one. Siler, he TPs in as well. Nobody's left. Faith, he jumps in for a 4-man hoof stomp, but it's not going to be good enough. Siler still getting chased. The shards fly out. They have perfect vision, and Faith, he's just sticking around. He just wants to make his presence known, but Newbee do not care. They find 4 for nothing. The only man left standing is this Centaur. And Faith, he's just going to wait around for his team to respawn and try to go for a bit of a trade now as he goes for a double hoof stomp. Nothing to say. Jumps back in, but the immediate silence coming out from AQ. And the shards again. And all these silences from Newbee really being the bane of Ehome's existence.
Definitely. Ehome just throwing away a nearly 5k lead from those back-to-back wipes. Losing their mid-tier 1 as well. This is exactly what Newbee needs to get done, and props to them for finally finding the engagements they need. They get a good amount of int onto their silencer on top of all of that. They take a key objective, they kill really big heroes from Ehome's side. It's gonna be rough for Ehome if they don't have a way to counteract the silence just yet. They were coming in rather awkwardly as well. It felt like there was some issues with synchronizing their movement there, kind of streaming in one by one. And once you give that to Newbee, they're just going to take it. You know, that's going to give a lot more money going the way of Mugi. He's working towards his Radiance now. He's just about to pick up that Sacred Relic, about 1,000 gold away, so not too far out considering that rough start. And once that Spectre has the Radiance, then the presence of this hero is just going to be that much bigger.
It certainly will be. Ehome, they've got to find an answer to this. Just trying to get more farm up on Sala, who's already getting close to an MKB, so he does have the answer for that evasion that the Radiance does provide. Seems like that may even not be enough. We'll see. So, Sala, we just saw that last team fight. If he gets caught out alone, they're able to separate him in an engagement. It's just so easy to just kill off the actual lone druid, and then of course the Spirit Bear will just go with it. Now Ehome. They'll look to make a smoke of their own. They know Mugi was there. Can they break the distance? They do have Stampede, and now Smoke Broken, they jump in straight away. And with that, Hoof Stomp immediately on. Global Silence was popped, and actually Horn, he will get out. Wizard, now with the Rolling Thunder, going to turn this around as Sin-Q will be the first one to drop, but the Curse, it catches 4 of them. The Silencer should die here, but can they find any more out of this? Faith Beyond now, wanting to back off, but nothing to say. He'll move forward. Slide of Fist, double Hoof Stomp, but Faith, he's slowly dropping with that Exorcism. The Cold Embrace going to be there once again, but they should have enough spell damage. Faith, he's still surviving throughout all this, but finally does go down. There's nothing to say now. Gonna have to run for it. He does have Remnants, he'll be fine. But they give up their Centaur and their Pos 4 Wind Ranger for the sake of a position 5 Silencer. They just can't find Mugi, that Global Silence, again and again. Just haunting Ehome.
Yeah, they're gonna need BKBs on Ehome. We talked about that from the drafting phase even, that they will need a way to counteract these silences, and that Newbee had ways of dictating the terms of engagement. That is definitely showing up in these last few fights. If Ehome's not going to be careful, they're just going to bleed out all this gold. That beautiful lead they had in that laning phase, just going to be all for naught, as you are seeing our DP tied up right there in that word. So we've got AQ catching up quite nicely. You've got the Spectre at 8.5k now, not too far behind. Again, with that Sacred Relic up, going to be very close to that Radiance, and Newbee going to take this time to go into that Roche Pit. They don't have the Global Silence, they don't have the Haunt just yet, but Ehome's definitely not set to take that fight anymore.
And Newbee, they're looking great. First Roshan of the game, going to go easily towards this Radiant side. Mugi, now with the Aegis on top of himself, going to feel a lot more comfortable across this map. He almost has the Radiance up, and well, expect Newbee to get very aggressive once that Radiance is there. At least one rotation from the Spectre. Try to get that Aegis down. So, Ehome starting to force in the mid-tier 2 now. Wizard. Maybe they're trying to defend this. AQ and YG also there. The Silence going to be there on the Ember. They're just not able to actually secure this tier 2 at all. In fact, Ehome just don't feel confident, it seems, to actually jump in and take the team fight either. Like, you can't really blame them. They know that the Spectre could always jump in at any time. Though the Haunt was on cooldown, but it is now off, so it was very, very close. They will risk nothing.
Yeah, I think that's a safe play coming out from Ehome. They don't want to bleed too much. Right now, Newbee is just way too strong with what they have. Naturally, their supports are at their peak point. Their Pangolier is just causing havoc. There's no BKBs yet on any of the heroes Ehome has, so counter initiation is going to be a bit rough once that Global Silence is out. And they do have a Yules under Ember at the very least, so nothing to say, can still cast spells after Yulesing himself. Still not the best situations to be in. And
safe.
Okay.
Almost got trapped up by the shards, but he had a Remnant anyway. He would have been fine. That net worth graph, and it's still the way of Ehome. Newbee haven't quite found that advantage though. Mid lane, Silence going to be thrown out on the Centaur. Snowball not going to land, but they got the Yules off, and now with the Spirit Siphon, it may be enough though. He gets a Stampede, and now the double shackle. Xingqiu will stop them in their place, but Wizard, Rolling Thunder going to be there, just rolling forward, trying to find somebody. They'll commit the curse to make sure he can't reach him, and now maybe try and turn this as Sylar starts going on Wizard, but he still has that Rolling Thunder going, and now the silence again from AQ, but now Shackles will be there on the Pango. He's still alive thanks to those Guardian Greaves, but not for long. He does eventually drop, but Y will also be the secondary to go down, so 1 for 1. He'll buy back though. Now the Tusk getting caught out by Faith Beyond, should be dead and does go down, but nothing to say. He's getting even lower. Slide of Fist and Shackles and Cold Embrace, but the Crypt Swarm will be enough from AQ to finish him off, but they've lost Faith in the process as Mugi now getting rooted up. The Hoof's not there. He does lose his Aegis. Can they get him a second time? AQ really has no mana, so he can't join the fight again, and Mugi understands he's dead. Just getting constantly rooted by that Spirit Bear. That'll be a killing spree for Sylar and a huge team fight for the side of Ehome. And Newbee, there was no hesitation running into that, even when Faith popped the Stampede and backed off to the tier 2. You knew Ehome had so much time to rotate all their heroes down mid to make sure they could take the team fight. Newbee, they just didn't seem bothered by it. They were playing as if they had the net worth lead.
I think it was a feeling of the fact that the Radiance was finished up on Mugi. They had a lot of confidence going into that Haunt fight. They had the DP ult running as well. They wanted to find something from these spell usages, and it just didn't work out. This time, it was Newbee kind of tunnel visioning in, streaming into Ehome. They couldn't take care of the Centaur as fast as they'd expect. Faith Beyond just always on point for the hoof stomps to slow things down. And that was enough for Ehome to get the proper response going. So they've bounced back to a 4K advantage on Ehome's side, 15-10 at 24.5 minutes in. Newbee, they've still got a lot of potency in this draft. I think you want to see the DP definitely melt a few more towers. They still are behind in terms of objectives. That tier 1 down bot still standing for Ehome, giving them a lot more access to their jungle area than they really should. And, you know, even with that Radiance on Mugi, he's not quite tanky yet. He's going to need some more items to really boost up his HP. That's going to take a little while of building up, and that's time Newbee has to buy.
They'll get started with buying it. Ehome maybe feeling the momentum now, maybe feeling a lot more confident for these next engagements. Again, they'll take over that Radiant side jungle. In fact, our pos for win range of Xingqiu now has an MKB up as well. That's a little concerning.
Oh yeah. I mean, Xingqiu's just saved up. He just saved up the entire time for that MKB. And it's pretty good timing. Like, he's been playing that sacrificial support this time along with his Wind Ranger, and there is a smoke from Newbee. We're going to find out the hard way.
Nothing to say. Gonna break the smoke on the Pango, just throws the chains out and runs out of there. They're not able to make the jump. They are still chasing him down. You've got AQ there with the blink, so he can get that guaranteed silence off, but nothing to say. He'll just TP out. And so the smoke rotation amounts to nothing, and now nothing to say again. Gonna Remnant back down after the TP, and Newbee should not be expecting to be here.
Oh, Mugi.
Trying to bait them in. Faith Beyond just waiting for the right moment. AQ, he's on the front lines. X isn't popped. He blinks forward again. Straight onto Sylar this time. He pops that silence, and Global Silence is also going to be there. They really want to just get rid of this this lone druid, but he's still outrunning them just fine. Faith looking for the perfect stun. The shackle! Xingqiu, he connects on two. Man. They've lost Faith on the silencer. It looks bad already for Newbee. It's now Ehome. They start moving forward confidently. Nothing to say. Do you really want to keep going here? Well, with that BKB, I think you do, but it does wear off. And Sylar, Chains, going to be there on the Pango. Now hoping for a root and does get it ASAP as Xingqiu throwing out another Shackles on Faith. He gets the hoof stomp and they'll find a secondary. In fact, now nothing to say. Remnants forward, looking for that AQDP. He has a Remnant in 3 seconds. He may just give up on it. And Ehome, they're going to start actually rushing towards that bot tier 3 tower. I doubt they actually go for this. They don't even have a creep wave right now. But they are certainly starting to establish their dominance.
Definitely. I think Ehome understands that when Newbee pops these ults, they cannot take any fight afterwards. They have to wait for the Haunt. They have to wait for the Exorcism. They have to wait for that Global Silence. So every time that committal comes out from Newbee, and even though Newbee doesn't lose their cores, it's going to be hard for them to get anything done in the next minute or so, and that opens up Ehome for this high ground push down mid.
Yules on the bear, but that tier 3 dropping very, very quick. Sala has an AC on the bear now. It's Faith. Gonna get stunned up once. Those shards do help with the Rolling Thunder, but now they don't. Wizard getting blocked out. Ehome, they may feel confident to just run back in now that the Rolling Thunder's down. In fact, double chains and Faith Beyond. He jumps in with the hoof stop and the shackles from Sin Q, but the snowball save gonna be there from YG, but it's no good. AQ's been caught out. YG has also been caught. And with only 2 heroes remaining, there's no chance of this mid-racks being defended. The only question is, do Ehome go for more? And the answer apparently is yes, they definitely go for more. They go straight for that bot tier 3 now. And Newbee not actually buying back. They're going to hold out. They know their top racks can't be taken because there is still a tier 2 remaining up at that top lane. So Ehome? Alright, tier 4s now. They really want to force these buybacks. It's like, let's take the fight right now. Their Spirit Bear is super strong, so I can't blame them. They do get 1 tier 4, and with the buyback from AQ, that'll be enough to back off. That's all they wanted. And I love that aggressive play. Ehome just taking everything they can get before they leave.
Definitely. Just forcing that buyback from AQ really hinders what Newbee can do now in this downtime. They can't commit too hard to any sort of fight. If the Roshan's up, and it's going to be up in around 20 seconds, they can't really contest it safely. But they're going to have to, because AQ does not have buyback. You know, they can't afford to give that objective away. They want a way to keep their DP in the fight. Granted, if the DP dies with Exorcism off anyway, it's going to be a rough fight. But you want that option available. So Newbee, they're going to be playing on the back foot here. 2 racks down. No buyback under DP. They get scanned out in YZ as well. So that does give Ehome some awareness as to where Newbee is posturing at.
They're going to try for the Roshan, but Ehome should be aware this is happening. With that scan they had earlier, they are starting to run towards. There's nothing to say. Sleight of Fist will give them enough vision to know, but that Roshan is so low, they have to be really quick and they won't have the time. They tried to power shot for some more vision. And so a very, very nice pickup from Newbee, and that should delay the game out a little bit longer. We'll give a bit more time to Mugi, who does now pick up that Manta style. Still needs a lot more than that, that's for sure. And Ehome, they know it. They're starting to run forward again. Even with that Aegis being claimed by Newbee, they just don't care. Looking for another pick-off. They won't get it. They did spot someone at top, and it is going to be YG, but he runs into the tree line and immediately TPs. The Y is going to be around, but doesn't have any vision in that tree line, so they're just going to start pushing out the wave instead.
Yeah, and again, Newbee, they're going to have to play cautiously here. Even with that Aegis on Mugi, you still don't have buyback in AQ. It's going to be a while until that's up, around 6 minutes until that option is available. At the very least, you don't have the gold on Mugi as well for a buyback. So even with that Aegis, I think the issue here is if Mugi dies with the Aegis anyway, the follow-up is there from Ehome to clean up. So it really is just more of buying time than actually saving the Spectre. And they do lose their last outer tower. So Ehome, they're going to be applying pressure to that last set of racks.
Yeah, Sylar with that Spirit Bear now has a Deso up. Move Stomp, Faith Beyond, following up on the Shackle Shot. Wizard falling very, very low. He does have Rolling Thunder. He definitely does not want to die right now. It's nice shards coming out from YG. Is it going to be enough? They go after the Spirit Bear, but the Cold Embrace is going to save it for now. They do eventually get the kill, but the Winter's Curse coming out on the Pango. He's dropping low and should die. Sylar, he picks up the kill with the new Spirit Bear. And they'll go after YG, who does also go down. Now Mugi, just a sitting duck. He'll have an Aegis at least, but he'll lose his first life. There's nothing to say. Moves forward and the GG's been called. They can't defend this 5v3. Only 1 racks away from being megaed. They have had enough of this game. And Ehome, with some very aggressive plays, do take the first game victory.
Yeah, it's a really clean game coming out from Ehome. There were a couple of moments where Newbee did look strong. They lost way too much in that early game. When you draft a support duo like Silencer Tusk, you have to win that early game hard. They didn't get that domination they wanted. They tried in the top lane. I think the moment they lost that first blood and split that duo apart, it was going to be a rough time for Newbee from then on. So hopefully enough, we'll see something different in game 2. We'll see whether or not Newbee will force it to a game 3.
Yeah, we're going to find out very soon. It shouldn't be too long of a wait between games. Of course, if there is, I'll keep you guys updated. It is MLP Dota and John X5 though, and of course we look forward to Game 2 of this Best of 3 series, which will come up very, very soon. We'll see you then.
We're never heading back until we're older. We couldn't care no more, not any longer. Under beach yellow skies, we keep on searching, but we will never know what we're after.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here for game number 2 of this best of 3 series between Ehome and Newbee. It is MLP Dota and John X Fire. John, game number 1, Ehome. I wouldn't say it was a completely dominant victory, but they did look pretty darn good going into that mid game. I'd like to ask you, game number 2, what do you think Newbee need to be doing differently?
I think Newbee's got to shake up their draft execution. I don't think it was a completely bad draft. I don't think they managed to maximize it, though. Like, you wanted that Silencer-Tusk combination to do a lot more work. It did not quite hit that potential it should have. So, you missed out a lot in that early to mid game. You didn't quite get as much space as you wanted for your Spectre, and in turn, you couldn't really expect Mugi to do as much as he could towards that late game. And they've got to shake that up here. If they go all in on a draft like that, they have to make sure it works. Like, you stick those two heroes together. If not, you run a bit more of a flexible draft. Ehome, they open up with Grimstroke Pangolier, a really potent combination off the bat. Newbee did steal the Centaur off, and they take the Phoenix as well, which is, of course, your namesake.
Absolutely. It's a great hero, John. I love seeing it. Of course, we have seen Faith Beyond play the Phoenix, or rather, it's going to be Newbee anyway. I was going to say, could have been Faith Beyond or Q, but Newbee with that Phoenix, John, I love seeing the hero, and I think it's going to add a lot of value here to Newbee. A lot of team fight. You've got the Centaur there as well to really stampede and initiate, cause havoc throughout these engagements, and make it very hard for Ehome to get anywhere near this Phoenix Egg. Not to mention, with this support duo that they've already picked up on the side of Ehome, they don't exactly auto-attack very fast.
No.
It's not going to be easy to rely on your supports to take down the egg while your cores just do what they have to do.
Definitely not. This is going to allow Ehome to draft their cores around that Phoenix pickup, though. They could get a ranged core that should be able to take care of it just fine. I do like the ban out Newbee did put in, the Jug ban out. That would have been really bad for the Phoenix to deal with, mainly because he could just purge that slow off and spin and right-click freely onto that egg. So taking that option away from Ehome definitely helps the cause of Newbee. I like the shake-up in their draft. It's a much more solid combination. They've got a lot more control with the Centaur in there. They've got great sustain and damage coming out with that Phoenix. They are still kind of level dependent, especially with that Phoenix, but Ehome now, they pick up the Lifestealer. They've got a great natural vehicle in that Pangolier. They've got a way to mitigate the attack speed slow that the Phoenix brings and the magic damage the Phoenix brings with that Lifestealer. So I don't see too many issues for Ehome in dealing with that egg now, at least with his Lifestealer.
Yeah, assuming the Lifestealer doesn't have a direct counter that, something that goes through that rage, he should be okay to just take care of it himself. Still Newbee. Have 3 picks. They have plenty of time to find something to make it hellish for this Lifestealer to break that gap. And there's one of them. The Bane with the Fiend's Grip is going to be rather hard to go through, but Ehome, they don't really worry about that. They go for the Nature's Prophet. And I believe that is going to be an offlane Prophet being played by Faith, and we've seen him on this hero before. And he can be very, very devastating on this Pos 3 Prophet. And that's also kind of another way to break that gap. Get to that Phoenix Egg, just take care of him, or, alternatively, just go on the Bane instead, ensure he can't control your Lifestealer, and you could also do it that way.
Definitely. I do like the pickup here from Ehome. The Nature's Prophet we have seen do a lot of work. Again, he got, I'd say, substantially buffed up in the patch recently, so his Wrath does give him a lot more right-click damage as well, as long as it kills creeps, his ultimate, so that does buff up his push potential, that does buff up the damage he deals in these team fights. He can, of course, clear out the Phoenix X, as you mentioned, and he does give you some great pushing presence now, and he's a good vehicle for the Lifestealer. But Newbee, they do pick up the Storm Spirit for themselves, and this is going to be an issue for Ehome. They don't quite have the best of stuns to keep a hero like that in its place. They do have the Soulbind, so if they do manage to catch someone with a Storm, bind them together, that's going to mitigate the mobility of that Storm Spirit, but beyond that, they don't really have the best of stuns to keep a hero like that in its place.
It's very true. Seems like a very free Storm game, and of course, Storm loves going up against Prophet, who can be a bit of a slippery hero to catch. This Prophet gonna have to be a little wary of how he split pushes and where he really locates himself with that teleport. Can be a very, very easy target for this Storm to jump on. Still, They do have one pickup to try and make sure they have some sort of counter towards the Storm, but it's not going to be easy to find one, that's for sure, as Ehome. They'll go into their sixth ban. Newbee, they're still lacking a position 1. I wonder what they've got up their sleeve for it. So now Ehome, they get rid of the Slark, which is fair enough. It is one of those heroes that can deal with the Lifestealer quite well. Newbee, looking to ban out some kind of mid-core for Ehome. Something that Storm doesn't really like going against, and unfortunately for Storm, there's plenty of heroes he doesn't like going against. Only so many you can ban.
I think the bigger mystery here for Newbee is what core do they go for? They need something that can probably come in line a bit faster. The Storm Spirit is going to be eating up a lot of that space. You're going to want the core that shouldn't take too long to come online. You want something that can deal with towers as well. You know, I reckon something like I think the Lone Druid would be okay. Like, that does take a bit of a ramp up, but as we saw in the last game, Sylar, all he needed was really a Mask of Madness on the bear, and he was active on the map. I think you can definitely fit a hero like that in. It might not be the best against a Lifestealer, but the Root is pretty darn good against that hero, so that is an option you could be looking at for your last pick.
Could also go for the Troll, right? Like, Troll doesn't take quite as long, and pretty much does a similar thing. He works well up against the Lifestealer, he has that in Snare, and they don't really have a counter towards it apart from maybe the Pango, who can get the disarm with the lucky shot. But now, Newbee, they do go ahead and ban out that mid-puck, and there's the Troll coming out. So, Newbee, I think it's a very smart pickup. I don't think Ehome have the tools to really deal with the Storm or the Troll right now, and it's kind of a matter of you've got to make a decision. Which one do you care about more? I still personally think the Storm is probably more important to counter here.
10 seconds remaining.
But Ehome, they have plenty of time to think about it.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, the biggest issue they have is that the Storm Spirit can really just zip into their backlines, no problem. And after that, you have great follow-up from the Centaur, great follow-up from that Phoenix. They're going to need a mid that really just mitigates that. I would have said something like the OD would have been great, mainly because the Troll's there, but it's going to be a bit hard with that Storm. It's not quite the answer you want for a hero like that. It does look like Ehome is going to have to think hard. The puck would have been great. Like, that just stops the Centaur ultimate from being as useful as well, so there's value in that. They go with the Lina instance. You've got this early burst coming out now for Ehome. You've got some pretty good laning presence there as well, and I can say, of course, going to be on that hero. At the very least, it gives you a way of dealing with the Troll Warlord early on. It still leaves them really vulnerable to the Storm Spirit zipping in and out. So Ehome has a very big vulnerability there that Newbee can just abuse.
It seems like Ehome might be just trying to dominate the lane up against that Storm. Like, maybe if you just shut down AQ in the laning phase and just slow down his farm, it might buy enough time for Faith Beyond to pick up something like an Orchid. And, you know, if you slow down the Storm farm, it's not like he wants to rush something like a BKB anyway. So maybe that's the play. Maybe that's what they're trying to do here. And well, we're going to find out. Of course, nothing to say. Had a pretty darn good game last time around. We have seen the AQ Storm before, John, and this man is very, very scary on this hero. And so far, I think we could both agree that Newbee's draft does just look a little bit better.
I'd say it looks better than game 1. They do have, again, that Storm with no real answer from Ehome apart from just winning their lanes. I think the issue is, this time around, Newbee's earlier start doesn't feel like it's going to be as well, you know, game 1, it wasn't dominant anyway. So perhaps they do shake it up a bit. This is a very, very much an easier combination to pull off. Bane Centaur is going to be potent. Phoenix Troll is pretty potent as well. Any sort of dual lanes coming out from this draft is going to be really strong. So the key thing for Newbee is to once again win out in that early game. I think that's always going to be their game plan here. Just, they can't cede space to Ehome, because once you do, you've got Alina who can push fast, you've got Fate Beyond on the NP, And he's just a total menace with that hero, just split pushing very hard. You've got to watch out for where he is on the map. And you can't give Ehome that space. You have to kind of slow them down as best as possible, get these team fights going with your Phoenix, with your Storm, with your Centaur, and snowball from there.
Absolutely. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. Of course, the odds are on the screen right now, John. Ehome, the heavy favorites going into this game number 2. We'll see how well that pans out. So I still think Newbee have a very, very good chance of being able to pull this one off. Ehome, they can play very dominantly, as we saw in game 1, so it's quite hard to make that prediction. See. I have a feeling we're going to see Ehome get a lot more aggressive early on this game as well. You have that global presence with the Prophet. It's much easier just to try and set up. Make sure all these lanes go poorly. And for now, Sylar going to try and steal a bounty rune off Wizard. He's playing the offlane Centaur. It doesn't quite get away with it, but it's going to be a 2-for-2 trade anyway, so it's still a very even start. And I've got to say, for Sylar on this lifestealer, this does not look like the easiest lane in the world. Centaur
No.
Phoenix just seems disgusting to have to play against, to say the least.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's not going to be a fun time to lane up against that. Of course, both of these heroes do pretty much just melt through a strength hero like Sylar. He's not going to be able to trade as favorably as you'd expect. I'd say at around level, even level 2 is going to be a dangerous time for him. That Newbee can definitely apply a lot more with the stun and the damage that could come out at that point.
Already White taking a fair bit of damage on that Grimstroke, and it's only due to get worse with YG on that Phoenix. Especially once you hit that level 3 mark and you have the level 2 Fire Spirits. 40 damage per second.
Ooh.
It's pretty disgusting though. Mid lane, AQ falling very low already. Up against Nothing to Say and being forced to salve up quite early on.
Yeah, he copped 2 Light Strike arrays in a row. And the follow-up damage from pure right clicks from something like Alina is just devastating. There we go again.
It's not easy, and this is, I guess, this is what I was trying to talk about in the drafting phase, right? Like, if you could just dominate the lane like this,
man.
AQ, he's got 1 Tango, 1 Fairy Fire, and the Tango's on cooldown anyway, so Nothing to Say. If he lands another LSA right now, it could have been pretty disastrous, but AQ already Fairy Fire, already brings out another salve, and he'll be okay, though top lane, Faith Beyond falling very low, and Wizard pretty much doing the exact same thing, also losing quite a lot of HP. Everyone seemingly just bringing out more salves as time goes on.
It's not too much of a different story from game 1. We saw this kind of posturing from both teams, just really draining out the gold by committing the resources to sustain their lanes. And I wouldn't be too surprised if we see that same timing for First Blood right around 5 to 6 minutes in. Unless we see Newbee actually stepped up their aggression. I don't think Ehome's under any pressure to make their lanes work out more than Newbee is. They've got these strong dual lanes that they have to make work.
Mid lane, AQ goes for a Vortex, Nothing to Say. He really wanted to try and go after the Courier of the Storm, and that would have really shut AQ down, but Nothing to Say salves up, and well, the uphill miss, the confidence in this Lina to assume that it would miss anyway and it wouldn't cancel the salve off, just kept auto-attacking away, and poor AQ. That's going to be quite demoralizing if you are the Storm.
Definitely. This lane has been consistently rough for AQ. He's at 5 last hits now, compared to Nothing to Say at 16 to 11. Just a complete domination coming from Ehome, at very least in the mid lane.
It's huge. The other lane we haven't really talked about much is the top lane, where Mugi is on that troll up against Xingqiu and Faith Beyond. Xingqiu is being very, very frustrating with that with the swashbuckle and the lucky shot. Just constantly disarming, though mid lane, there is a gank attempt, Nothing to Say. He is going to be the first blood. YG rotates in on the Phoenix. He had those level 2 Fire Spirits, and with AQ and his Vortex, it was more than enough damage to ensure the Lina went down.
Yeah, they definitely needed to put a lid onto that Lina. Just way too much being lost out from AQ. He needs that good start on the Storm. So a worthwhile rotation from Newbee, and you can see the difference from Ehome's draft. They don't have anything on Y to save his course anymore, so he's not going to be bothering TPing in.
Bot lane, Sylar, Inkswell going to be placed on the lifesteal. They do get that massive stun off, but Wizard, just such a tanky target. It has the Ring of Trask anyway, so just huge regen numbers on this Centaur. He doesn't even need to have regen on him. He just passively regen up. They will at least, you know, kind of make him feel a little bit uncomfortable in this lane. And Wizard will just farm underneath his tier 1 anyway. He's not going to be too concerned. YG mid. Once again, looking to try and make a play on nothing to say. AQ still a level behind, but now with the haste rune activated, LSA does land, but YG just jumps in and AQ should be able to get the Vortex, but they have rotations. Faith TPing in. Can he actually help though? Nothing to say is falling very low and does go down, and now Faith, can you find any form of trade? He cannot. He's forced to back. AQ has the haste anyway, so it's not like he was going to die. And while all that was happening top lane, Mugi was able to take down the Pangoli, who was left alone.
Yeah, that's a big set of wins going the way of Newbee. Just rather unfortunate for Ehome that they aren't finding these early trades, but this is exactly what Newbee needs to get that start going. This is the big difference from game 1. Although Wizard is very low.
Stroke of Fate does connect. He tried to juke it out. He sidestepped a little bit, but it was no good. Wyatt just waited for that perfect opportunity. So you do find the first kill on the board now for Ehome. Something they desperately needed. Sylar will be able to get some free farm going for himself. There's really no contest here without the Centaur. Speaking of that Centaur, by the way, he's 33-3, so Wizard's been having a great old time, considering they have been trying to get aggressive, but he just doesn't seem to care. He just keeps farming up very effectively.
I mean, that's just what Centaurs do, right? They don't really lose out in lane, they just find what they need, although down mid, AQ.
Yeah, LSA, all of it being landed. Laguna was used, and AQ cannot sustain that much damage. Faith Beyond and Sin-Q returning the favor, and both supports actually rotating down from Newbee, but this may not be good for them as there's 4 heroes in the mid lane from Ehome, just collapsing on mid. The Sprout blocking in Faith. He can't get out of this one, surely. The LSA does land. They will find a secondary, and now YG doesn't have Icarus dive, but Mugi's rotated over on the Troll, and it's just going to be an all-out brawl fest in this mid lane. Faith Beyond drops some trees. The trees will be enough to dissuade the side of Newbee. But man, oh man, it's not too often you see so many heroes like this in the mid lane just behind a tier 1 tower.
Definitely not. That's quite the set of rotations coming out, especially the rotation for Mugi. I think that's a big surprise. Him dipping out to try to find those kills. Doesn't even have his level 6 yet, so he does sacrifice some time farming up. He is going to have to walk back to his lane to get something out, and of course Fate Beyond just teleports around, so not a massive issue for that NP. Surprised Newbee went so far after copying those losses still. Fate Beyond.
Getting chased down, Mugi. Doesn't have mana for Battle Trance, however, he does get it now. Faith's trying to block the way with the tree. It's going to be no good, but the Treants do an effective job of blocking them in. Meanwhile, Sin-Q going down to AQ. Sprout, though, from Faith Beyond, he's still trying to outrun them. Teleport, he will get out. The courier may not be so lucky, but Mugi hasn't actually spotted it. Never mind that, though. Mid lane, nothing to say. Going to get jumped on by AQ, and he's level 6 now on the Storm, and that's going to be a double kill coming out for AQ. And this was the problem we talked about as well in that draft phase. Like, once you see AQ at level 6, you just don't have an answer.
Yeah, that's going to be a massive issue for Ehome now. They're going to have to try to take it slow. They need more farm onto Sylar for him to really get going, and...
Why? Gets a solo pick off onto Wizard, who was trying to creep skip on the Centaur. And it was a very easy one. It was just an Inkswell and a silence. That's all it took. Still Newbee, they're going to be very, very happy with the way this game's going. They are maintaining a 1k net worth lead for now. But AQ is farming up his Kaya. Got double nullifier or null talismans on the way. Now with the Nightmare on Sin-Q. Do they follow up? Not quite. Faith.
Top tower is under attack.
He scouted out. AQ's there. Sin-Q will also be there on the Pango, but Faith is dropping rather quick. Stampede going to be there as well. Faith still surviving, but does tick out to the Fire Spirits. And AQ gets away with the killing spree. They'll lose their Phoenix, but they'll be more than happy with taking Faith Beyond's life.
Yeah,
more gold
it's
for your Storm.
Definitely. It's a much better story here for Newbee so far. They have managed to successfully find these early kills. Ehome has been keeping up at very least 5 to 6. Not too shabby for Ehome. Still Newbee maintaining that slight 1k net worth lead. I think they're going to need a lot more to get going. The biggest factor here is that Mugi basically has free farm up top. So he's not being contested on this troll. And this could end up being a very, very hard thing for Ehome to deal with. A free farm troll. In fact, you know, you don't really see Sylar having that same freedom in his own lane. He's been contested pretty hard from the side of Newbee and Ehome. I don't think they've managed to really relieve that pressure on their Lifestealer.
No, they definitely haven't. Well, with the Lifestealer, it does take a bit more farm, bit more items to really be as effective as a troll. Whereas the troll doesn't really need too much. So Newbee definitely in the driver's seat. So they are going to look towards that bot lane now. Wizard just trying to secure this bounty rune. He does pick it up, but now the silence flies out of Sylar. He'll join in. But they're not going to get any kind of kill out of this. So Sylar back down to the bot lane. In fact, never mind that. He'll go to the jungle. How many bounties was that each? Looks like one of them may have been denied off. There was 2 to the side of Newbee, 1 to Faith Beyond on the Nature's Prophet. And one of them just disappeared.
Yeah, I reckon it might have been a deny. I mean, no other explanation for it. Every single spot in the map is taken off. Still, again, a bit of a gold injection going the way of Newbee. And they do find themselves at the 2k advantage now at the 10-minute mark. This is big, right? It's a much better story than Game 1. They've certainly got much more momentum going for themselves. It's not quite that massive lead you want to see yet, but it's a good start. And they do smoke up on their Storm.
This could be another big kill for AQ. Gonna run past the Roshan pit down the river. There are 4 heroes here from Ehome. They've also smoked up on Nothing to Say and Sin-Q, so it's a very mirrored kind of play, but Nothing to Say, he has the low ground. He'll get jumped on straight away on that Lena Faith. Can you lock these guys down enough? No, LSA Laguna, but the Fiend's grip there in time. Now the egg being dropped. Nothing to Say, he does go down on the egg. It will be able to pop all the way, stunning up 2 heroes from the side of Ehome, but the Rolling Thunder from Sin-Q, disrupting everything. They'll find Faith, but they'll lose Y in the process, and now the Troll. Can he survive this damage? Sin-Q, he gets bashed! Oh, the Roshan! No. Why would... Oh, Roshan is apparently not happy with Ehome this game. Faith would at least get out on the Prophet, but how unlucky can you get? A first hit bash from Roche himself. And that's going to be a 2-3 trade for Newbee.
The funny thing is that Sin-Q actually procced the right click on Roche. I think he was trying to go for the deny early on. And unfortunately, you know, his disarm wasn't long enough that Mugi just turned around, saw him at low HP, got the last hit in the end. So rather unfortunate for Ehome, still a really good trade going the way of Newbee. 7-9. Looked a bit rough. Like if they actually lost Mugi there, that would have not been worthwhile. But they do still manage to trade much better in the end. And this is going to slow down Ehome just a fair bit. You did lose AQ, but you gained a lot more for all the rest of your heroes. And that's going to definitely help your cause here as they maintain a 3k lead now. The side of Ehome, the side of Newbee at 12.5 minutes in. A much better story than Game 1. And if they can carry this momentum, Ehome, they're going to have more and more issues with that Storm Spirit.
Sylar at that Bane, but won't be able to quite close the distance. Newbee ripping up his 3 down bot, but you look at Ehome, they're pretty much sticking as 5 now in their own jungle. Not feeling comfortable to really be a part, and I can't blame them for that. Look over back to Mugi. He's going straight for a Sergeant Yasha. And I love the build, right? Because that Sergeant Yasha allows you to fight very, very early on. So he won't go for anything too greedy on this troll. He realizes they have the advantage. They need to keep pushing this advantage. But we'll see how fast he can pick it up and when he gets started with his team. Meanwhile, where's AQ? He does have that Kyra up. And he's going straight into the Bloodstone after that. And once you've got that Bloodstone up, it becomes that much harder. to stop AQ because you've got the active to heal you up, but as well as that, he just has so much regen that there's really no need to go back to the base unless you die.
Definitely. It's again building off the issues Ehome has. They just have no response for this. Sure, they have really good burst under Lina. It's starting to really lack in terms of just blowing someone up, although.
Inkswell going to be there on the Bane. And it looks like it should be a very easy +5 kill. Faith knows he can't do anything about that. But nothing to say even rotates down on the Lina. And you can just see the caution coming out from Ehome this game. They're just constantly TPing everyone down, even for a position 5 kill, just to ensure that there's no kind of bait play or no traps being laid from Newbee.
It's mainly because if Newbee brings in their Phoenix, they just, they need superior numbers to deal with that egg every single time, and they need to clump up for that. They're never sure if the supports will show up, and this is a very good smoke coming out from Ehome now. Can they find anything, though?
Oh, they found something big. Nothing to say. He's been left alone. Nice little dodge there. Nothing to say. Can he actually get out of this? The Yules is going to be available in him, and now Ehome jumping in with the Soulbind. They caught out AQ, but they've already lost that Lina. It's not great news as Ehome, they do have to back off. YG, he gets the egg off. Faith Beyond going to be chased down. They will at least find the Bane on the opposing side, but they'll lose their core profit. They'll lose Y on the Grimstroke, and it's going to be another 1-for-3 trade in the favor of Newbee. That's a lot of gold and XP going to the way of this Dire side again, and they should be able to capitalize by at least finding this bot tier 1.
Yeah, Ehome not going to be very happy with that trade. None of these fights are just going in their way. Like 9-12 now, and Newbee with a 4K advantage, taking out that tier 1 down bot, slowly but surely taking away resources from the map for Ehome, and the only boon Ehome has is that Sylar is farming up alone, uncontested. So he's got himself quite safe. He's building up towards his Desolator. Is that going to be enough to deal with all of this? Probably not. He's going to need a lot more to take these fights. And as they take their time with their Lifestealer, Mugi just continues to grow big. And we're not seeing Ehome finding these solo pickoffs that they want to have. They just haven't been able to get it rolling anymore.
I think Ehome, they've got to wait out this BKB on Nothing to Say. Like, I just don't see them being able to fight unless he has it up. We've seen it over and over again. Every single time, they'll jump the Lina and they'll ensure that they don't have that real DPS output they need. Q though, bot lane, gonna find the Bane, still just with the Rolling Thunder and Swashbuckle, it's not gonna be nearly enough. Faith will happily walk out on Newbee. They were waiting for the moment where they could just go back in, take the team fight after Rolling Thunder. They think better of it. They may get another chance now anyway. It's Ehome remaining grouped up. Are going to start moving across the river where AQ will get spotted. Do they get the silence off in time? Not quite. AQ immediately out. Now the silence is there, but Q, he can't break the distance with the Inkswell. And well, in the Dire side jungle, Sylar, he's going to get caught on the Lifestealer, but Rage will come out, but immediately the Fiend's Grip and the Battle Trance from Mugi going to be more than enough. Sylar absolutely had no chance of surviving that.
Yeah, there's just no way. Like, they've got the Bane with the Fiend's Grip. He has no way of just getting around freely with his Rage. And this is just issue after issue for Ehome that they have no response for. They smoke up now, trying to find something. Perhaps they can at least get the Centaur.
Nothing to say. We'll catch him out. And they do commit Laguna for this with Rolling Thunder. They just want to make sure that they get the kill. They'll be okay with that, but the problem is they're losing their mid-tier 1 while all this has been happening. So Newbee will still be able to capitalize off this Lifestealer death, and their own Centaur death for that matter. And it'll remain 10-13 with a 5k net worth lead for Newbee going into this. There's just no end in sight. I just don't know what you can pick up here for Ehome apart from that BKB on the Lina to really turn this around. Looks like Sylar is going for a Deso. So Armlet Deso build, fairly standard stuff for Lifestealers right now. They're still going to have that control with the Bane Fiend's Grip though.
Yeah. It's rough, right? He's going to need something like perhaps a Linken's down the line, but it really doesn't do too much for his damage output, and it does feel like Ehome is kind of lacking there. You saw how much they had to commit for a Centaur kill. I don't think that's going to carry over too well when you're trying to kill off The Storm Spirit AQ, he has his Bloodstone now. So it's going to be just that much harder to burst down that Storm Spirit as well. And of course, the Troll can delay these fights with a Battle Trance for a bit longer. So you've got some pretty good ways of prolonging these fights in Ehome. They just don't really have anything.
They've smoked up again. And nothing to say, actually switching out the BKB now. He goes for a Kaya and he's going for a Bloodstone. Interesting play, interesting decision. I should note that the Orchid is now up on Faith Beyond, so perhaps they feel as long as they lock AQ down with that silence, they don't need the BKB yet. I suppose I could agree with that. AQ though, with his Bloodstone up, looks to get a BKB of his own next. And they will smoke up now. All ultis are available on both teams. Ehome, they showed themselves up top, and this could be really bad for them as Wizard jumps in and gets a double hoof snap off straight away on Faith Beyond. They need to keep that Prophet alive, and AQ zips forward again, straight on that Lina. Soulbind gonna be there, but now the Phoenix Egg being dropped, it's all too much. What do you aim in this team fight if you're Ehome? The answer is nothing. You just die. As everyone just melts, and the only man to walk out, ironically enough, is the man they jumped first, which was nothing to say.
Yeah, this is just going from bad to worse for Ehome. They have nothing to stand up against what Newbee has. They have way too many ways to eat right through Sylar's immunity. They've got a lot of damage coming out now. They've got great initiation. They've got so much synergy with their Stampede and their Storm Spirit that everyone can just follow up these fights quite fast. And this is going to allow them to take that Roche as well, so they're going to have a bit more freedom in taking these fights. They are going to have to wait perhaps for the next Supernova to be up. But even then, I don't think they necessarily need to. They just need to be able to jump someone straight up, and suddenly there's just no way to deal with that for Ehome. Like, if you catch this Lifestealer off guard, he doesn't have anything to really toggle on.
Uses the Orchid on the Bane, but AQ was zipping in from a distance, and Faith, he can't even find the Pos 5 Bane. AQ with a huge jump across the map, just on point thanks to the vision Faith was providing. Now the net worth lead at 10k. 21 minutes in. It's going to take a while for them to try and come back from this, and it's going to start being a question of whether it's even possible now. Like, Mugi's going to BKB on the courier coming his way. AQ's going to have his own BKB soon, so suddenly all that magic damage output not really going to be that effective. And again, nothing to say, he kind of switched his build to a Bloodstone, but I don't think that's the play.
The sustain would be nice, but the issue now is really just surviving. The BKB would allow him to stay a bit longer. Maybe he's questioning that value because of the Fiend's Grip and the Supernova stun. Like, those can still be a threat to the BKB. I think you just need it, you know, just ensure that at least one of your cores will be able to stand up. So if they do commit the Fiend's Grip on the Lina, Sylar's at least able to tear through some hero at some point.
Mid lane, they have found the Lina once again, though Soulbind again going to come out, but it does nothing to help. Now why? Inkswell will at least connect on to, but you've got AQ who wasn't affected by the Inkswell at all, and he does have the damage output to finish the job off himself. They do lose YG in the process, but you found a core Lina and a support Grimstroke. No problems with that.
Definitely not. Still a pretty good trade going the way of Newbee. And that should allow them to apply some pressure on this mid-tier 2. So Ehome now slowly but surely losing space on the map. And you'd expect a bit more space with something like the Prophet, but Faith Beyond has not been split pushing as effectively as you'd expect, and they get a good scan out onto this NP as well.
They certainly do. Faith are getting zipped on right now, though. AQ, he stops a bit early on. Faith. Be careful, he should see that Phoenix rotating now. YG, they know where he is, but the teleportation will be there. They will get the D ward off, and it would have been really disastrous had Faith just died by himself. And the game just doesn't get any better for them. How's our Lifestealer's farm? It's going for an AC up next. It's got the Hyperstone. And I don't think that's really the issue here, though. Mid lane, they have jumped. They found the Pango. Sin Q. was just trying to push out the mid wave, but Newbee can just close the gap so quick. You really can't spend an extra second if you can afford not to.
No, definitely not. Newbee can just slow push like this just by having their center stand in front and cop that damage, as we saw in the last game coming out from Ehome that time. Newbee in a very good position to start pressuring this high ground. Ehome still has no answers. It's 11 to 21, 12k advantage for Newbee at 24 minutes in. And Ehome already pretty much forced into their base. They do have one last outer tower on their top lane, but that's it. They still need a lot more on their profit. They need a lot more on their lifestealer before these guys can come back in and start fighting again, because so far it's been complete dominance coming out from Newbee with its draft.
Sylar in the mid lane. This is a very dangerous position. Newbee won't make the jump as AQ wasn't really around. I think you do need the Storm follow-up if you want to really ensure your victory in these fights. AQ just going to force in the bot lane and join his team once again. This is still great time for Ehome. The longer they can drag this out, the better their chances. Speaking of chances, we should have a look at the Dota Plus win probability right now, which is currently 2% for Ehome. That's as low as you possibly get, really. I mean, you can get to 1 and 0, I guess. Sylar.
Ooh.
Does get the infest off in the Mud Golem. Gonna make a run for it, but they have the Vortex. AQ holds him down. Rage will be popped, but the Fiend Grip again gonna stop him. Still, he does go down. Rolling Thunder from Xingqiu. Tried to control up the side of Newbee, but it's no good. And Xingqiu looks like he may go down as well as AQ. Just trying to force him. Aegis does expire just in time for AQ as he walks out. But they'll get that top tier 2 tower, and look at that bot lane, John. AQ setting up to go on Nothing to Say, it seems. Or is that a bounty rune we're seeing? Alright, there's a bounty there, but as soon as he gets that bounty, Nothing to Say is in vision.
Yeah. I believe Nothing to Say just use LSA as well, so...
Oh boy.
Doesn't really have a way to stop this one.
He has the Yules, but I don't think that's going to be enough.
Oh no.
Very awkward moment for Nothing to Say. AQ gets Yuled up. Nothing to Say. Going to go for the immediate TP. AQ, he knows, but he doesn't get the Vortex. Goes a bit too forward.
A bit too far. Would have been a nice kill to pick up. Just additional charge, and his Bloodstone really just denying any more coming out from Ehome. Still, Nothing to Say. Gonna be happy that he does get to escape. Not much he can really do at his time, though. Like, they can't really farm up into their jungle. If they go up there right now, it's going to be rough. The supports are going to find
They're going to go for a fight. Faith Beyond. Silence is there on the Bane. They can afford to just go after a pos 5. And the Silence should tick him out. No, apparently it doesn't. Sunray will be there. Stroke of Faith. They still haven't finished him now. Hoofstop. Wizard looking to turn it around. And poor Faith getting caught out as Y. Getting zipped on by AQ. And he just melts. AQ now with an Orchid of his own, and that is just so demoralizing to watch. They couldn't even find the pos 5 kill, and they'll lose 2 of their own in the process, and the tier 3s are now going to be open to Newbee. And it's almost a repeat of game 1, except it's for the opposite team.
Oh yeah. It's rough. Ehome really has no defense, especially without that Soulbind. They just have no control here. Did you get the heals up?
No mana. Laguna going to be there. Rolling Thunder, can they lock him down long enough? Well, not with that egg in place. Nothing to Say, getting jumped on by Mugi, and does get taken out even without the Battle Trance. And there's the GG call. Ehome, they understand they can't do this any further. That'll be it. We will be going to a game 3, luckily for us, John. And of course for the viewers. In Ehome, they were the heavy favorites going into this second game, but I think we can both agree Newbee with their draft really just pulled off an easy victory, I want to say. Like, it really didn't look very hard at all.
Definitely. Ehome, they had a lot of gaps in their draft that Newbee this time around just abused the hell out of. And Ehome, hopefully enough, they step back from this, they rework their strat. They did lose out in the lanes as well. Newbee managed to execute these lane matchups much better, and they brought a really good fight to Ehome. So we'll see whether or not Ehome manages to turn it around in game number 3, or if we'll see Newbee maintain this momentum they have into that last game.
Should be an interesting one. Of course, it is MLP Dota and John X Fire. We'll see you guys again very, very soon for that third matchup.
ESL 1 Los Angeles is brought to you in part by Intel, Mercedes-Benz, AT&T, Mountain Dew Amp Game Fuel, and GG Bet.
Said I'd find a way to turn my heart into something gold. Knew I sold my soul to the devil long ago. I rode it all along on your way right before it broke. Time was thrown down the well, so I let you go. What I do right now. What I do right now for you, for you. Carolina skies in the night, floating by your side. I fell up when you fell down, but we stayed in flight. I'm laughing to myself, cause I know that I can't deny. I can't find what you can't hide right inside my mind. What I do right now. What I do right now for you, for you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here for our third game of this best of three between Newbee and Ehome. It is MLP Dota and John X Fire. And John, I love the fact that we've come to a game three. I hate when best of threes end in 2-0s. Of course, it tends to be very boring that way. Game number three, though. Ehome took game number one very decisively. Newbee returned the favor in game number two. I just want to ask you, where do you think Ehome went wrong last game around?
They had way too many holes in their draft in the last game. I think it was definitely down to a draft issue. They just fundamentally had no response to what Newbee had. They had ways of piercing that spell immunity on their Lifestealer that Ehome had. Ehome had no way of keeping that storm in place, and while Nothing to Say had a good time in the lane for a while, once the rotations were coming in from Newbee, you didn't see Ehome respond defensively. They didn't have something like the Winter Wyvern this time around to play that saving grace role. So they didn't have that option to sustain those lanes anymore. And it just fell apart. Ehome just had no answers for what Newbee had. Hopefully enough, they don't find themselves in a drafting corner here. That's one thing they have to watch out for, is leaving themselves vulnerable to a draft like that. Like the Storm Spirit just had so much value there. They had no way of getting that control out. Sylar, even with relatively decent farm, had no impact because he was always being controlled up by the Bane.
I have to agree. I think it was purely based on draft, and you gotta give credit to Newbee for that, how well they did with that draft, and of course it was Faith who was getting that work done. Ehome, of course, we'll see if they fall for the same trap this draft round, as they start with a very, very powerful opening. The Oracle and Mars being picked up, and John, we've seen a bit of Faith Beyond's Mars. I can tell you he is very, very good at this hero. And of course, with Oracle there already as a POS 5 support, just on its own, it's very powerful. With the Mars, even more so.
Definitely. It's a solid duo to start off with. You are still playing into that Phoenix. I think that's actually one of the heroes that doesn't mind the Mars too much. You're gonna still have that egg to deal with right now for Ehome. They're gonna need to respond with a hero that can really just melt it from afar. They're gonna need a way of just responding to the team fight that Newbee is looking to bring out. The Arena of Blood that the Mars does bring is pretty potent though, and it does have great laning presence that should be extended with the Oracle around. So you're gonna have a lot of sustain on this Mars. It's gonna be hard to keep a lid on him. And that's definitely going to help the cause for Ehome. Going to be interesting to see what they actually do follow up with that Mars. Like, they're going to need something that enjoys that AoE buildup. I like the response from Newbee, though. They go with a clockwork. So you've got the Phoenix Clock now for Newbee, and you have a lot of flexibility with these two picks. Either hero could be a support, could be a core. You've got that flexibility in both of these heroes, and you know, just the combination of Phoenix Clock itself is quite potent. The cogs makes it really easy for you to land your fire spirits in that Phoenix, makes it really easy to aim that Sunray. So from the laning phase alone, that's going to be a really potent combination coming out from Newbee. I would have to say, though, if this is the support duo we're seeing coming out from Newbee, there are holes there that Ehome can abuse. There's no real hard stun coming out here except for, I guess, the battery assault to keep someone in place. It's not the most consistent thing, and a really slippery hero can kind of just dip out of that.
Well, with that clockwork being picked up, John, I think there's going to be a bit of a fight over who picks the Shadow Fiend now. Because both Mars and Clock enjoy having that core SF. Of course, the free souls with the Clock is always nice, but the Requiem with the Mars is even better. And Ehome, do you really want to pick up your mid right now? I believe if they don't pick it up, Newbee will probably just take it for themselves. So they're going to have a think about this. It just does not seem like a great idea to give it away to Newbee. Especially considering when you do drop that arena, the one thing you don't want is for your whole team to be feared away while that arena is going on. And like I mentioned, with the clockwork cogs, John, you're going to have that easy advantage with the 12 souls even before the laning stage.
Yeah, it's something Ehome can't afford to give up into Newbee, just because we have seen that clockwork SF really pop back in. A lot of teams have been running that together again. Although a couple of times they don't even go to that cog start. We have seen teams just go with the raises anyway, and the clockwork just playing aggressive with a battery assault. It's still really potent. And Ehome does go for the troll instead, so they do give the option for Newbee to pick up that SF for themselves, and that's going to be really potent. That would tie up their draft quite well. It is going to leave them vulnerable to a stronger mid coming out from Ehome. I think that's the one weakness if they go with that combination. I like the response, though. The Razor for the Troll. This is going to make it really hard for Ehome to get that damage up and running, and it fits into the timing Newbee has with her lineup anyway. These heroes all come online fast. All of them have really nice early power spikes. They've got decent team fight all tied in. They've got great ways of dealing with what Ehome has already. And I do have to wonder how does... Yeah.
I was going to say, not to mention, John, now Ehome, if they go for the SF, right, you can lane the Razor mid and just dominate the SF anyway.
Oh.
So they'll ignore it completely and go for this Mirana pick. Now, we've seen this. We both don't believe in this hero. There is no arrow setup as of yet.
No.
And I don't see one coming either, because the last pick here is the mid core for Ehome. I know you're about to say the spear is and Fortune's End, but it's not that reliable.
No, definitely not. No. This Mirana pick we have seen a couple of times before. I guess the one thing for Newbee right now is that they lack hard lockdown as well. So there should be a lot of ways for the Mirana to just dip in and out. I believe they might actually be looking at a core Mirana. I don't know really. That's the one reasoning I can get. Like you toss that core Mirana up against a Razor, the static link wouldn't be an issue at all. At the very least in that laning phase, so you can get something going like that. It is rather an uninspiring position 4. Like, I would actually rather this as a core, mainly because as a pos 4, there's really not much synergy going on here with what Ehome has. They're going to need something to really pick up the slack on their mid if they're going to go with a support Mirana. Even then, again, we've seen this a couple of times. It's just not been too impressive, right? Like, it just doesn't give you enough.
Do you think Newbee's still thinking about the mid SF? No.
Oh.
No, they're not.
Oh.
They go back into the Storm Spirit. I don't mind it, though, because, again, you don't really have catch. You do have the Mars with the Arena, but you can zip out of that. So unless the Spear connects, he's out. You do have the Fortune's End into the Arrow, but again, we've talked about that. That's not very reliable. You also have the inbuilt ensnare from the Troll Warlord, but that you're basically hoping for RNG at that point. Is this a good Storm game, do you think, or is Ehome going to be able to control this?
No. Ehome's not going to be able to do it. We saw it in the last game. This is almost the same story. None of the reliable stunts you'd want. No one has a Hex. No one has a good silence. You do have a root from the Oracle and the Troll. You have a stun from the Morse, which isn't the most reliable thing, especially against a very zippy hero like the Storm. You have the Arrow from the Mirana as well, which is just not reliable. None of this is just going to be keeping that Storm in place long enough. Even if you could hold that Storm down, what are you going to do about the Razor if he links up your Troll? Like, he's not going to do damage. You have the Axe now as well from Newbee. All of these options up and running. Newbee having a beautiful, aggressive early game, aggressive lineup here.
Can I just say,
looks
John,
to be... Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad we got to a game 3. You know, it's
Oh, yeah.
it's not often you get to see an Axe pop out. It really isn't. But it's always a pleasure. And you can probably give credit to Seb, of course, who made the hero so darn popular, so iconic. If it wasn't already that, and it's just exciting to me when you see that Axe pop out, because so many plays can happen.
Definitely. It's going to be really hard now for Ehome to get anything done. Like, it would just go through the Oracle ult if your timing isn't great. If it's right at the boundary, you're just going to get chopped off. Ehome does close out with a Husker, and that feels more like a desperation last pick than it is really as a response to anything else. They've got the Oracle Husker. Great. But there's an Axe anyway to chop that Husker down.
True. Very, very true. Still, if nothing to say can get the start he wants, right? He's got a good lane matchup. We can agree on that. The Storm Spirit is going to have a very hard time up against Husker. There's no doubting that part. If he can get ahead, get a quick armlet into the Halberd, which you generally see from Huskers, he could probably just take down the Axe with just overloading on Fire Spears anyway. But I have to agree with your sentiment that if he doesn't get to that point, then Wizard is going to be able to control him and take him out anyway with the dunk. So I don't know who to say has the better draft in this game, because both of them look really good. I think it's going to be more so based on who can win out these lanes and just outplay their opponent.
I think when it comes down to the laning phase, I do prefer Newbee as well. Like, you have the Phoenix, you have the Clock, you've got the Razor Axe. Any dual lane coming out here is just going to be really hard to deal with. Ehome, sure, they've got that Oracle plus Morris or Oracle and Troll, which is pretty decent in pumping out Harass and Sustain. The biggest question on my mind is the Mirana. Are you going to get the value from that Mirana? Are you going to be landing those arrows on the enemy to slow down their farm, to apply that pressure? Or are you just going to sit there, soak some EXP with the arrow? Like, that's what we tend to see. They go for the safe play. They get the big creep. They get the range creep with their arrow and just kind of soak that way. And I don't think that's going to be enough to counteract the aggression that Ehome has with their early game lineup. It's just not going to be enough if you're just going to be soaking there while the Clockwork Phoenix just wreak havoc on the map.
I tend to agree with what you're saying. The only concern I do have for Newbee is that mid matchup. I think AQ is going to have a very, very hard time. Maybe he doesn't, though. Maybe AQ's got something up his sleeve.
No, I reckon this is going to be a rough lane for AQ no matter what. If you wanted to relieve that pressure, you'd actually just maybe toss the Razor up and try to give the Storm a side lane and try to get that way, because no matter what, that lane's just going to be rough.
Well, we just had a look at those odds on screen, and it has evened out quite a bit. No, arrow is going to connect. That's the first arrow of the game, and it does last a long time into the spear, and that's going to be the first blood coming out. Sin Q will be the one to pick it up on the side of Ehome. And, well, that's a great start.
Yeah, it was the Fortune's End to set up, and if Ehome can maintain that aggression with their supports, I think you can get a lot going for yourselves. Like, Ehome do have ways of dealing with that early rush. Newbee definitely want to be the aggressors here. They want to get that early start going for themselves. They want to get the Razor online. They want to get level 6 on their Phoenix fast and start overtaking the game. If Ehome can match that aggression, it's going to be hard for Newbee to lever an advantage in this game, and that might be enough for Ehome to really just get ahead. Again, we have to look at that mid lane. Can AQ survive long enough, or is he going to lose out too much to this Husker? And if he does lose out to the Husker, which seems very likely, Newbee has to win their side lanes hard.
But we did see this last game as well, where they had nothing to say on the laner who had the clear lane advantage. And just a couple rotations made it so AQ could just catch up and take over the lane. I wonder if Newbee can replicate that performance. It's not going to be as easy, and I think Ehome will be very ready for it this time around. And it's a Husker. He's already got the level 1 Berserker's Blood, so he's got that inbuilt heal already active for himself. AQ. It's going to be hard, especially once you hit level 2 on nothing to say. He's going to have fire spears up, and suddenly you're going to be on fire constantly, and that's when things get a bit more challenging for the Storm.
Definitely. It does look like AQ is leveraging this early start quite nicely, though. He does have a slight level advantage right now, so it's going to be a while until nothing to say can pump it back in. Has burned through 1 Tango, but again, with that added regen, he's going to be fine. Has the Burning Spears up. So level 2 is up and running for that mid lane. Should be able to trade nicely, though, up top. Why?
Yeah, he'll burn out to the Fire Spirits of YG. And now Sylar going to also burn quite low. I don't think the Icarus Dive damage is going to be enough. But YG, again, on this Phoenix, just already putting so much pressure at this top lane.
Yeah, that's a solo pickoff for the most part as well. You saw Wizard all the way back at that tier 1, getting his own creeps up and farming that out. So YZ having a lot of impact on his Phoenix. Ehome really have to be careful. They can't afford to lose out in these lanes. Even with that mid lane going well, you know, you have to slow down this aggression and the XP gain that Newbee wants to leverage.
Vortex mid lane, this is what we talked about, nothing to say. It's YG again on this Phoenix, just level 2. Doesn't even have the level 2 Fire Spirits yet, but doesn't care. AQ with the early Vortex, they pick up the kill. And I thought Ehome would be better prepared for that kind of rotation. Apparently not yet.
Yeah, it's rough, right? Like, you rotate Sin Q out to apply some pressure for zone. He does have the arrow, he is dropping AQ fairly low, but he's copying a lot in return as well and misses the arrow. See, so when you have trades like this coming out from Ehome with Mirana, you just wonder, would another support have done a better job?
Arguably so. I'd probably say yes. But only time will tell. Is AQ again gonna just jump on the Mirana. Sin Q beating a kill away now to the Storm as he tries to leap away, but that last hit with the overload was enough, and AQ really giving it to them. As he finds his first kill of the game. So 1 kill, 1 assist, no deaths on this Storm. Sure, he does have to run back to the fountain, but man, he's got a great start. He's going to be able to pick up his bottle soon, or his brown boots, whichever he prefers. This is not what you want if you're Ehome. They're top lane. Even this Axe, they're trying to control him up. Wizard, he's starting to get low, but with that Ring of Trask, he's been surviving long enough. That can he get away? He's still healing, but Sin Q does finally have the damage. It looked pretty close. That's a concern.
Definitely is. Like they are committing a lot of resources around the map, right? You have to constantly have the Mirana with that Oracle to get the setup to find these kills, but you can't be everywhere in the map at the same time. You know, you're gonna be copying weaker lanes in this case, and that is gonna be Fate Beyond right now.
Yeah, Faith Battery Assault going to be there. Faith Beyond cannot survive, and that was only level 1 Battery Assault, but that mini stun with the Razor follow-up going to be more than enough. But now Q will rotate over and definitely wanted to go for some kind of kill on the Razor, but never mind that. Mid lane, AQ again going to find nothing to say thanks to the rotation of YG, and Y, he'll be slowly but surely chased down, and I don't think you get out of this one. His Vortex does connect, and he tries to Fairy Fire, but is it going to really do him any good? Probably not. YG, it's literally a repeat. YG's got a killing spree again, sub 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's 6-3 now. 1k advantage going, less than 1k advantage for Newbee, but they are getting that aggression out. We talked about this from the draft. The lineup from Newbee just comes online in a snap, and Ehome, they can do that, but they need to stick their supports together. Whereas Newbee, they could just rotate separately and find so much more in the side lane, so much more in the mid lane. AQ, we were talking about the Husker having an advantage here. It's not working out that way when the rotations from Newbee are just this effective.
Oh, spear from Faith Beyond bot lane. He didn't find Faith. Faith will happily walk out on the clock. Still sitting at level 2, but still being just as effective as if he was level 3. Noogie on the Razor. He's just been freely farming. No pressure whatsoever. Even up that top lane, like Sylar, he's doing a pretty good job on the troll. I don't know, it still concerns me a little bit more when the Razor's free farming, I've got to tell you. Faith, gonna find Faith Beyond. Battery Assault just ticking away. It's still a level 1 Battery Assault, but it gives Mugi time to come in. Still Spear will at least knock Mugi away. Faith Arrow is going to connect. They could go for this. Mugi threatening with his own presence. He doesn't even have static link yet, but he will in a moment. And Faith Beyond with the spear from a mile away, just barely landing. But now with Mugi chasing, it looks like he cannot sustain. And now Mugi looks to turn around on the supports. Why? Probably can't get out of this, or maybe he can, but Plasma Field is definitely going to slow him down a little bit. He'll purge it off with the Fortune's End, and why? Is he really going to just chase down the T1? He does get arrowed, and that should be enough to force Mugi back. But you lost your Mars for the sake of killing off a Clockwork. And Mugi, he almost took down 2 supports on top of that.
Yeah, it's rough, right? Like, they even have to rotate Fate Beyond. They do find the Phoenix.
YG getting jumped on. The Psalm going to be there on the Storm, but he got the Vortex off, and now with the Cogs, is it enough? They had the Fate's Edict on the Husker, but it doesn't block off enough damage, and now Y getting low again. Q, you got to run. Just leap away. It's not safe. Faith Beyond does get the Spear off onto Faith, and Faith should die here to the arrow of Q, and does, but AQ still has a double damage rune active. He doesn't have enough mana to pursue any further kills, but I believe that is the 3rd death of the Husker this game, and in fact it is. And AQ actually finds his 3rd kill through that engagement. I just can't see how Newbee could possibly be unhappy with that.
No, definitely so. Like, Faith has had so much impact on this clock. He was level 2 at that mid rotation, just jumping into 3 heroes like it was nothing. And he was disruptive enough. Like, so much value from this low level Clockwork doing all these plays, although up top, Wizard in spot of trouble.
This could be dangerous. He gets the call off, but Fortune's End going to be there, and Sylar should be able to get an ensnare off, or maybe he can't, but he does have the slow. That'll be it. They do pick up a nice little trade there for Sylar, who is still free farming on the troll, which is great news for him. Have to see how far he can push that free farm. It's Faith on the clock. Playing around that bot lane, Mugi actually finding Faith Beyond solo on the Mars. That really is the... Wait, he didn't even use Static Link, he just Plasma Field?
No.
Oh man.
I mean, he whittled away the durability of this Mars, just constantly trading with the Plasma. And there's really just not much you can do with the Mars right now, especially when you're left alone. Again, there's only so much you can expect from Q to do. with that Mars. He needs the Oracle around for the setup, and every time you split these supports up by having so much action in the map, their influence on the game is just mitigated. So that's the issue right now for Ehome. They're not really leveraging this Mirana pickup. It hasn't really translated to much because Newbee have been poking at the holes in their draft every single time. They make sure they can't commit to a 3-man rotation.
Faith and Sin-Q gonna rotate down bot. They have the Arena of Blood up, and if they could land a spear in that arena with the arrow, you could certainly confirm a kill onto Mugi. But Mugi is just by his tier 1 tower. He's gonna be feeling very, very safe. And why now? Gonna go for the Fortune's End onto Faith. Faith actually getting knocked out. Spear will land on the tree, but now you have this Phoenix once again. YG, they'll take down Faith beyond.
Oh man.
And Mugi, with all that extra damage now, going to go after Y. The Sunray being popped. Sylar, he's going to join in. But I don't think this is really safe for him. He does have Battle Trance, and it looks like he's confident enough as Y. Almost drops. Mugi, he will run completely out of mana. And now the arrow does connect those Sin-Q. Almost going down, but Faith can't finish the job. And Sylar trying to go after this Razor. He pops the Battle Trance, but Mugi is out, and he looks like he's going to turn this. He has Plasma Field and Static Link again. Sylar going to be chased. Plasma Field does land.
Oh, man.
Newbee are just playing this perfectly. They are playing Ehome like a fiddle right now. Look at YG.
What?
Y's going to burn out to that Fire Spirit damage, I think. In fact, he just makes it, but Sin-Q, the Purifying Flames heal will keep him up long enough, but they are always on the edge. Every single team fight, these two supports on the side of Ehome, just one kick away from falling off the cliff. And Faith! Oh, Faith!
Faith! What? The flare! The hook! Finds the two supports that barely survived.
On top lane, Wizard finds Faith beyond on the Mars. So Faith gets a rocket flare kill and then gets the hook.
Oh yeah.
Which I didn't quite catch, unfortunately, because I was looking up at top lane, and then Wizard ends up solo killing off the Mars.
Oh yeah, it's a rough situation for Ehome. They just lost too much momentum. They didn't even win out in that mid lane. They're forced to respond with their supports in separate lanes, which means they don't get that root combination into the hour as often as you'd want. They found a couple of kills with it. It doesn't feel like it's been as impactful as the kills Newbee has found. And now you're at the point where the Clockwork's at level 4. You know, the support Clockwork is ahead of your off-lane Mars. Fate Beyond. The Battle of the Fates here. Fate Beyond. Still at level 6. Fate at level 7.
Oh, man. That was a level 2 clock around 8 minutes ago. Like, at 8 minutes into this game. He was just roaming the map constantly. And now he's out-leveling the offlaner of the enemy? That's insane. Max battery sold up. He catches any support, they're dead. There's no chance in hell they survive this. Maybe Sin-Q could leap. But Fortune's End, gonna fly out. Faith, he's gonna be the target, but he's got Mugi there to help out. Arrow will not connect. They're gonna try, but now the hookshot of Mugi goes down the hill. They'll take down the Mars first, and they start chasing his Wizard. Gonna rotate in on the axe, and Y try to run, but why would you even bother? He does get dunked as Sin-Q now. Gonna be chased. Nothing to say. Being slow to the plasma. Does get the disarm for a second, but the dunk not even going to be necessary. As now YG drops the egg just in case. Just to flex on him a little bit. He doesn't need the egg this game.
Ehome, they just have no answer. They clump up 4 heroes to try to find a Clockwork, and it was for the most part just Mugi. You know, it was Fate trapping up the Mars with the cogs, and then having Mugi as backup was enough to deter 3 heroes. And then suddenly you have the Axe on top, you have YC's Phoenix on top of that as well. None of these rotations from Ehome paying off just yet. At the very least, they're getting time on Sylar to farm up. He is working towards his Diffusal. It doesn't feel like that's going to be enough just yet. He's going to need a lot more in response to what Newbee has running for themselves before he can really stand up. I believe he's going to need at least a BKB on top of everything else.
Well, you know what the beauty of all this is for Newbee? Not only are they still finding all the kills on the map, but we haven't even looked at AQ for ages. He's got a Kyre up, and he just picked up his point booster. He's going straight into the Bloodstone again. This Storm is second in net worth, just completely free farming his own jungle. And now they finally smoke up with AQ. Looking towards that bot lane where Pearl, nothing to say.
What a scan.
Is sticking around. They scan out, they run into the scan at that last moment. They know Faith. He has that hook shot ready. He could catch multiple here if he wants, and he gets the main one. The Husker getting caught out with no vision. This looks bad. Nothing to say. Gonna try and fight, but they've lost. Why? He got the false promise off in time, but he gets dunked anyway. Wizard doesn't care. It's a disaster to say the very least. Ehome, how do you come back in this? Tell me, John, how?
It's rough. You're putting all your eggs in one basket. You're hoping that your troll's gonna be enough to carry you through this, but it's a very tall order for Siler to really put this on his back. It's a heavy load to carry. I'm not sure if that's gonna be enough. Ehome, they went with this combination with the Oracle and the Husker. They were trying to go for it, but there was the Axe. Last pick here.
Going on Faith Beyond, doesn't go any further. Moonlight Shadow, they'd love to find the Storm. It'd be an amazing kill, but he has an Invis rune. And so Faith's gonna run right past him. AQ just playing around, he knows what they're up to. And Faith is completely surrounded. The actual Faith on the Clockwork, trying to bait them in. Meanwhile, mid, Wizard doing the same. They know they're Moonlight Shadowed right now. Spear will miss and they have to run. You've got to watch out for that Clockwork hook, which is available. Oh, mid lane, they jump on Wizard. He does have 10 stick charges and he is very, very tanky, but he is going down fairly quick. That's a huge kill for Ehome. Wizard, I'm surprised he stuck around that long considering his team had left the building. But Ehome, they will happily take the kill.
Yeah, that's a big kill for them. They might lose someone though.
Yeah, Sylar kind of makes the same mistake. False promise from White, not even ready yet. He needs 10 seconds and now the hook. Faith setting up for the secondary kill. Sylar, he's going to try and armor toggle his way to victory. He does find AQ, but does die in the end. Now that kill to AQ, maybe you'd call that worth.
That was a lot more gold going the way of Sylar at the very least. I believe he does win out in that trade. Still not the cleanest trade, not the way you want these trades to be going. Although they might be able to find more now. But Ehome, they're starting to find a couple of kills here and there. Newbee are slipping up just a bit. They can't really afford to give too much back. Like, you give Ehome a way back in, of course you're still dealing with a Husker. Even if you can dunk through that false promise with the Axe, there's a lot of durability that Nothing to Say is going to get as this game goes on. You don't want to wait for that disarm to be up and running and the BKB, because that's just going to make your life that much harder. So you really don't want to give Ehome those options. You've got to keep applying that pressure, stick as 5, don't drop these kills, because that will let Ehome bounce back in.
Look at top lane. Mugi. He's thinking about it. He does have the Mask of Madness up now. Sylar doesn't have Battle Trance for another 10 seconds or so, but looks like it's going to be too late for Mugi to even try, though. Mid, IG playing around with the Nothing to Say Husker again. He's almost got that Spirit Vessel up on the Phoenix, and that's going to be a real problem for this Husker. It's Faith Beyond. Moonlight Shadow going to be there. They were underneath an Observer Ward of the Radiant when that Moonlight Shadow popped, so they are aware, Newbee, that this is happening. AQ still kind of just sticking around. He's not really scared as they do have the Phoenix Egg, and YG gonna jump in. Can he Icarus dive? He needs a second. He gets Yule's up, and that's actually gonna work against him, or maybe not. The arrow, it does connect, but AQ still goes in and Faith straight onto that Oracle. Get rid of that false promise, and Y can't do anything about it. He'll die. The buyback was there from YG. He still has the egg. They want to keep going. Faith gets spotted by that Sunray, but he's way too far. So Ehome still do find a decent enough pick-off and do force out a buyback. And bot lane, AQ getting caught out alone.
Yeah, that's a big one. Ehome, again, they're finding these small single pickoffs that Newbee are slipping up with. And they are starting to find a way back in this game. Newbee, again, they have to be really careful about these kills they're bleeding off. They've lowered their advantage to just 3k. It's still 23-12, 18.5 minutes in. Ehome can really just build back in if these kills keep bleeding. Like, you take a look at Sylar. He's right behind that Razor Network, has overtaken AQ. And even Nothing to Say is just about 1,000 behind that Storm. And he's had a really rough game on this Husker, still managing to recover quite nicely. So you're giving Ehome the tools now to play toe-to-toe up against your draft hero in Newbee. And that could spell issues here.
They have the Shadow Blade up on Sylar as well, so they could go for this, though Wizard getting a call off onto Y. Faith did not want to jump in. That was probably the smarter decision, as Ehome were right behind, waiting. And with this blink on Faith beyond, with the Shadow Blade on the Troll, with the Diffusal, they look to be ready to go. They want to try and take a team fight now, I believe. You still have the problem of the Mugi Razor, who's going to be quite detrimental to this Husker or Troll. But if you can catch them out, could be huge for Ehome, but they're going to try and go for this top tier 2 push for now. Ehome, they're not really going to be there to defend. And instead, it looks like they're just setting up to protect their own outpost. They have popped Moonlight Shadow, but it's going to amount to nothing. Instead, they're going to try and go for a tier 2 tower trade.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Smoke up. Newbee. Smoke is 3 and they start running directly south. They may run into Y. Wizard actually calling some illusions mid lane. So he gives it away as hookshot gonna land from Faith. Sylar looking for the right target on the Troll. In fact, never mind. They just run away. They understood without Y on the Oracle being able to false promise, it wasn't worth taking the team fight. Newbee, can you find anything out of that Oracle kill? Doesn't really look that way. He's going to be back up in 5 seconds anyway. More than fine to defend this mid tier 2. Sylar is an invis. Let's get the hell out as Mugi pops the Mask of Madness and AQ looking for a target, and they'll go up top. Who have they found there? It is going to be Nothing to Say again on the Husker, going down as Wizard sets up with the axe. And that should make it a lot easier to get this mid tier 2.
Definitely. We do see the BKB up and running on Nothing to Say, like he's had that on the Husker now. It's going to cause issues for Newbee if they do stagger these fights, so they've got to really be decisive. They jump onto Y.
Y. Again, the blink call coming out from the axe. It's just so easy to pick up a kill because you have AQ on that Storm who can just zip in and follow up. Newbee now, leaving only one outer tower remaining for Ehome, and that's the bottom tier 2. Ehome still just far behind, 4k net worth, in fact, behind of Newbee, but more importantly, it just seems like they have no momentum this game. We'll pop the Moonlight. Ehome, arrow, scout out. They'd love to get the jump on AQ, but while he's zipping around, it's very hard to get the spear into the arena. Looks like they'll find nothing.
I mean, I do like seeing Ehome pop that Moonlight to keep trying to find kills. It has not been paying off.
Sylar, hookshot gonna be there. Faith just gonna lock him in place. Sylar, he doesn't get the battle trance off in time. It's just too deep to farm. Like, Wizard's just all over the map with that blink. And AQ, we know how fast he can get there with the with that zip.
Yeah, and you've also got Faith with a hookshot, of course. So you've got all these tools to chase someone split pushing like that. It's hard, but there's really not much you can expect Sylar to do. Like, he went for the Shadow Blade to get this done. Right? He wanted that mobility. And it's a risk you have to take. There is a smoke up from Ehome. They are playing in 4 versus 5, though.
They might try. They see Wizard, but everyone else is right behind him on the high ground. Just doesn't seem to make any sense to try and go for that without your Troll, but instead, maybe they rush a Roshan, but the Rocket Flare. The timing from Faith, I mean, his clockwork this game has just been on point. And Ehome aren't backing off. They're going to go for it. Faith is waiting patiently with hookshot. Silo will be back up in about a second. He's going to TP straight towards that outpost, and now the Yules, they're expecting the blink into the arrow, but it's not going to be that long. But Faith spears him back into the tree now. Nothing to say, falling low, but he has got the BKB off, and now the egg has been dropped. They will be able to burst it down. Nothing to say, has lost his life. Meanwhile, Silo, who are you fighting? He'll go after Mugi on the Razor. AQ just cleaning up the supports as Battle Trance is pop, but Wizard jumps in with the call. Faith trying to help out. Mugi barely runs away, and now the hook comes in from Faith with the control. 3-man cogs, but the arena's there. Nothing to say, is still man fighting everybody. Faith, he's going to drop on the clock. It's a rampage coming out from Nothing to Say, and it could be a double as AQ will also go down. And how did they win that team fight?
God.
What an absolute mess.
Just a complete mess coming out from Newbee, dropping her lead to less than 1k, 30 to 19, but a full wipe going the way of Ehome. A lot of those kills going on to their troll. The moment they expended their big team fight spells there, and the fact that Ehome did not drop the arena until later on, just managed to give Ehome the tools to turn around. It's all these items that have been building up for them, like the BKB on Nothing to Say just allowed them to stand that much longer and fight there, and really mitigate the damage coming out. They managed to isolate they managed to split up around that ramp area as well, causing a lot of issues for Newbee's fight, and they were forced to buy back in. To no avail. So a huge swing going the way of Ehome. They get the first ages of the game as well. And that is going to put Newbee on a bit of a back foot as they do fall 2k behind from all those diebacks.
That is huge. I mean, that I believe the fight recap said about 4k gold change for Ehome. They gained 4k after that one team fight. As you can see, the 3k advantage is now active for Ehome. And even till now, I think Newbee might be sitting there saying, how did they win that team fight? How did that happen? It seemed to be going Newbee's way, but Nothing to Say with the armor toggles just survived over and over again. They just couldn't burst him down. Is AQ gonna just zip through the mid wave, TP out and just clear out the creep wave, but Nothing to Say, he doesn't care. He'll still find the mid tier 2. And Ehome is on the comeback.
Oh yeah. It's these BKBs that are finally up and running as well. Like, you've got the 10-second charge up on Sylar now. You saw the BKB of Nothing to Say to great effect. That was his first usage as well. Still has 9 seconds up, and he finally has his Heaven's Halberd. So you have the disarm from the Oracle causing a lot of issues, and now the disarm on the Husker with his spell use and his Heaven's Halberd. So you've got all of this to break up the fights as they are. And Newbee has to be very conscious about their spacing here. They still have a lot of power left in them, even with this deficit. It just feels like they've given a little too much rope to Ehome.
Faith getting caught out now by Sylar, but the Cog's going to block Sylar back. And he will just hookshot out. He can't afford to die right now. Nobody on Newbee can. Ehome setting up for the mid-racks. Tier 3 is still standing. It's not going to be that easy. And Newbee doing the right thing. They're just split pushing the other lanes, trying to apply pressure and force Ehome to back off. Buy themselves more time to get some more items up and maybe try to come back themselves, as you do now see AQ with a 10-second BKB charge available on him. That might be all the difference.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Mid lane, Nothing to Say. Gonna have to back off as Mugi does show himself. Moonlight Shadow's gonna be there, but this looks like a bait from Newbee. Will it matter, as Ehome last time around just didn't seem to care at all.
Smoke broken. Newbee.
Hey, they don't spot him out. Nothing to Say now trying to bait through the mid lane. Arrow gonna actually hit Faith right in the face. There's no follow-up to it. Ehome. Illusion Rune for their trouble. Not the best route in the world, but bot lane
Sylar.
route they found the big one, the troll. Can he battle trance in time? It looks like he can. He BKBs battle trances, but the static link is there, sapping away all the damage from this troll, and he will eventually fall. Still the arena, it'll go down. They're gonna just try and fight this one out. The egg is there. They need to get that down ASAP. The egg almost going, and it will pop off. It does get there all the way. Now AQ jumps back in, but again, it's nothing to say. Trying to man fight basically by himself. It's not going to be good enough this time. He'll lose his Aegis. He's going to try again. He'll run forward. Faith Beyond is there to help. Nice little God's Rebuke to stop the Icarus time. They actually find the Phoenix, but now the static link going to be there. There's this arm coming out from the Husker. Nothing to say. Can he actually fight this one? He's lost too much damage. He definitely cannot. And Faith Beyond, understanding that, just TP's out. Well, that team fight, John, like, without Sylar there, he was there and he did survive long enough, but the problem was he'd lost all his damage through that static link. He just had no chance to actually get any DPS out.
Yeah, it's a precarious spot to be in for both sides. Like, every single time you expose one of your cores like that, and someone gets a jump on them, you will lose a lot to try to save them. And this time around, it's Ehome punished for their positioning there. Newbee managed to find the upper hand in that fight. It was a bit messy. They did still drop their Phoenix in the end, but he did manage to get the egg off completely. And I think as you approach that level 20, level 18 to 20 of Wei Si, he's going to be a lot harder to deal with that egg. So you're going to have to watch out for those spikes on the Phoenix. Just going to be really hard to deal with. Oh!
Hookshot going to be there on Faith Beyond. Spear is going to be there as well from Faith Beyond, but it doesn't look great as AQ jumps in straight onto SinQ and does take him out. They dunk, they take down the Mars. And he tried to go for the outpost steal. And Faith on the Clockwork had actually just dropped a sentry ward. So he saw the invis of the Mars. And just waited him out, taking that outpost, and went straight for the hookshot. It's just so back and forth, this game number 3. I just kind of wonder for Ehome, what items turn this game around for them?
They're going to need something like I think a Linken's is going to be really good in either their Husker or their Troll. Just block that static link. In fact, even a Force Staff to try to help your heroes break that link out is going to be big. You need a way to get these physical cores, to get their damage out. You already have the good disarms on your Oracle and your Troll, your Husker, but, you know, those disarms are great, but once they run out, Mugi's still going to do a lot of damage, and you're not going to be doing damage in one of your cores. You're going to need a Linken's up on someone. I guess that would be big, because right now they've only got the BKBs, and they have been turning them on a bit too late, like after the static link is running, and that just causes a lot of issues for Ehome. They've got to be able to start these fights on their own terms. I think what we're finding out here is that counter initiation sometimes just isn't too clean. Whoever gets that first kill advantage, of course, is playing with numbers advantage, and that's really the deciding factor here with how close this game is.
Mid lane, nothing to say. Staying by himself. Newbee thought about making the jump. YG, he threw a few fire spirits in, but didn't want to risk it. I gotta tell you, I love the item build coming out from AQ. He's going straight for an Aghanims, and he's got it now. He has gotten that level 20 talent, so plus 0.5 seconds on that Vortex. It's at 3.1 seconds of duration. Now, the AoE Vortex, essentially a mini black hole. It's going to be hard. If Ehome get caught without popping their BKBs in that, they could get bursted way too quick.
Yeah, and we've seen that a lot of times already, where, you know, they get clumped up, they get 3 in a cog. That's going to be much worse with this Vortex up and running now from AQ.
You've also got the other call set up from Wizard anyway, so he could just follow up on the call. Zip in, he found 2 straight away. Now the double core coming out, and that is going to be 2 supports dead straight away. AQ, he'll go for more. Nothing to say, he is the main target, but he is out of mana on the Storm. They have Blink in a couple seconds on the Axe, but it won't be quick enough. But with those 2 supports down, they could try for a high ground attempt. They will not, however. They start running down towards the south, where they want to try and find Sylar. He's already TP'd out.
Yeah, I think right now, Newbee, they're just paying respects to the high ground potential Ehome has. You are playing in the tight area up against a Mars. That arena is going to have a lot of value in that ramp area. And of course, the Husker kind of enjoys when you clump up as well to get the most out of his inner fire. So a lot of caution.
Dodges the spear from the Mars, and well, it's a lot of damage coming out from the Storm Fate. Forced to use his first BKB charge just to survive the damage output. But Wizard, he gets the call off through the Moonlight Shadow and Hook. Faith, he won't land on the backlines. Spirit Vessel going to be there on Faith Beyond. He still runs away in time. Now they turn on the clockwork. They can at least take him down first. And Faith does eventually die to the Fire Spears, but Newbee, they're not done. They get the call once again, this time on Sylar. The Static Link just sapping all that damage away, but Faith Beyond jumping back in, trying to help out. The Axe, he falls low. He goes down. They got the False Promise on the Sylar. They go after the Razor. In fact, never mind. They got the arrow onto the Storm, and now the Ensnare's coming out. AQ goes down, but they've lost Sylar on the Troll. Mugi trying to survive. He gets speared away. YG jumps in and says, just kill me instead. And he will take the death, allowing Mugi on the Razor to get out of there. But a successful team fight from Ehome, and it just looked like a terrible start. But Newbee getting a little too overly confident with that chase onto Faith Beyond, and it does cost them heavily.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. I think the moment Faith missed that hook and was just chasing up, they lost a lot of value and control there, and they should have just taken their wins and called it out. Still, Roche going to be taken by Ehome. They did buy back in the Phoenix to try to slow this down.
Nothing to say. Roshan being taken. They have hookshot Faith. He's going to go for the steal, it looks like. Rocket Flare will give vision of the HP, and nothing to say. He's still not backing off. It's a very risky play, but he has blocked off the Roche. Faith has to find a nice angle for himself for this hookshot. Otherwise, you're basically giving your life away. Ehome still confidently taking this. Yule's going to be there on the clock, but it's not perfectly timed. There's still time. Mugi gets in there, and now the hookshot does land. Nothing to say. He still grabs the Aegis. Still manages to pick it up through that stun. And nothing to say now with the False Promise. Surviving, trying to fight back the best he can. He will eventually lose that Aegis, but he does get Faith in the clock. Buyback immediately out of that Faith, and now Arena of Blood onto 3 of them. Arrow lands on Wizard, but he got the BKB off in time. They want that Razor. Here comes AQ with the Vortex, but he only caught one of them as Ehome. They look good going into this. Can they find Mugi? Where's the stun? The arrow, it does not land. It was a millimeter off target. And YG will be the one to go down on the Phoenix. And that's actually a dieback on that Phoenix. And so Ehome, although they get their Aegis essentially denied, they still find a somewhat successful team fight, forcing out a buyback from the clock and forcing out a dieback from the Phoenix.
I think that's overall a big win for Ehome. They managed to get a lot of the objectives on the map. They waste a couple of buybacks on the supports of Newbee. They are forcing Newbee to be on the back foot now. They don't quite have enough just yet on Newbee's chorus to really counteract the power Ehome has at this point. You're facing up against a pretty farmed up Troll. You're facing up against a successfully recovered Husker. And it's just hard. You don't have enough burst to take care of any of these heroes fast enough. We see our Razor go through a full static link, and it doesn't feel like it does enough to mitigate the damage from Nothing to Say anymore. Like, he still manages to get stuff done. Even our Troll still manages to get stuff done, even if he's fully linked up. So that's something Newbee has to really watch out for, is that they are starting to taper off here on their heroes.
What are they lacking, though? Is it damage they're lacking? Is that the problem? Like, do they need faster burst potential?
I'd say, I think that's a big part of it. No one has blade mails up. Our Axe does not have a blade mail. You know, we don't have a blade mail on our clock. And just having that blade mail would pretty much kill Ehome off themselves, or at the very least mitigate that early damage output they look to really pump out. I think that would break up the fight sequence for Ehome and give Newbee an opening if they invest in that item on a couple of their heroes.
Well, they're going high ground, Ehome. They got to cheese up on Nothing to Say. Not quite as good as an Aegis, but now the speed. Who have they caught? It is Wizard. The Axe getting bursted down. Nothing to Say, trying to get the damage out, but not quite there, as the hook was in the back to make sure they couldn't follow up. Nothing to Say, he's starting to fall low, but he eats the cheese. He doesn't want to risk his life. Egg being dropped. AQ, how much can you control these guys? The call is going to land. Now Arena, though, locking down Mugi. The Razor, they don't have the damage yet, but Sala comes in now on the Troll. And the only person to die was Faith in the Clockwork, as he did sacrifice his life to ensure they got Wizard out safely. But the high ground, T3 will go down. Nothing to say now. It's going to be a slow process, especially thanks to those fire spirits of the Phoenix. AQ can jump back in with the spear again. Faith Beyond. He caught Wizard. Can you save him this time? It doesn't look like they can, as the false promise was there or nothing to say to delay his death. Can he survive through it? I think he can. He's been healed up. Now the Phoenix, another dieback coming out. 3 heroes with no buybacks available on the side of Newbee are down. This could be Megas. They're going to go for T4s. They want to finish the game.
I mean, it's 2 heroes to defend. Razor Storm, can they hold out against 5 heroes? It's a tall order.
Oh, AQ, he's got to make magic happen with Mugi. He jumps in, but the Yule's the arrow. It all lands. Can they lock him down long enough? Not quite yet, but the Fortune's End will follow. Still, they don't care. The Ancient now, it's been exposed. Sala, nothing to say. They were taking the T4s while all that was happening in this game. Could be over. AQ lands a Vortex, but look at that Troll Warlord. John Sala is just hitting away with the Battle Trance. And Ehome, what a comeback to start the first series of the China region for ESL LA. My God.
Oh yeah, what a last game to close out. Like Ehome looked really rough at the start there. Their Husker lost lane. You know, they lost their side lanes as well. Their Morana wasn't having as much impact as you'd want. Newbee was all over them. And a couple of bad fights where Newbee just stream in one by one, and Ehome suddenly on top.
I don't know how they... I mean, I've got to go look at those replays. That one team fight at that Roshan pit when they were behind by about 5k on the side of Ehome, and it was just a messy team fight on the stairs to the Dire jungle. Got to go back and have a look at that one, see how it all panned out. What was the game changer there? Because that was the point where Ehome turned it around. Nevertheless, John, we do have to switch over to another caster. Of course, there is another series after this, so don't go anywhere. We are just going to have to change streams over, so you may see the stream go down for a couple seconds. But don't fret, it'll be back up very, very quickly. It is MLP Dota on John X Fire. If you enjoyed, consider following us on Twitter. Otherwise, we'll see you guys again tomorrow for some more ESL 1 LA. Thanks for watching.